Regular joint meeting of the City Council and Indio Water Authority. I'm calling the meeting to order. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Councilmember Commissioner Ramos Hamid, Councilmember Commissioner Ortiz,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice President Berman,
Present.
and Mayor President Holmes.
Present. Thank you very much. City Clerk, do we have invocation?
We have Pastor Nate Conant from Destiny Church.
For those of you wishing to participate, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we offer our prayers on behalf of the city of Indio today. We especially need your guidance as we deal with divisions in our city. And we pray that God, our city would be one city under God. We ask that you surround this city and cover it with your mighty hand. We pray for unity in our valley and that in spite of our differences, we would be willing to stand strong together and live out our days with compassion and grace. We ask that no weapon formed against us will prosper and that you would thwart the attacks of the enemy hurled our way. Help us, Lord, to avoid the traps of the lawless one who seeks to divide our community. Today, we ask your wisdom and your guidance would fill the minds of our leaders. Give every public servant from our police chief, city manager, to the council members and our honorable mayor, the heart of a servant. Help them make decisions that are selfless and benefit every citizen of this great city. As we walk in humility, let there be no hint of arrogance or hate in today's council meeting. Let integrity and honesty guide every decision as we seek your divine help. We pray that every decision be made with discernment, wisdom, and fairness. Help each of us, Heavenly Father, to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. We ask you to heal our valley and heal our city in the process. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, amen.
Please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Please be seated. Okay, City Attorney, is there any report on closed session?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council met in closed session for the items listed therein, and we will be returning back into closed session after this meeting.
Thank you very much. On going to number 5, a report on City Council external and internal boards. Council Member Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of my committees were active. One was CVAG Executive. I spent the last year as the chairman. We rotated the position. Now it is Christy Hostage from the city of Palm Springs is now the chair, and Steve Hernandez is now the vice chair. We went through our budget, went ahead and looked at that. Then we had our General Assembly and all the things that CVAG's been working on for the last year, from our new homeless committee that we commission brought up with Mr. Tom Cox, to our transportation, to our signalization of our lights. A lot of exciting things went on at CVAG. So very excited to see the new leadership, and was honored to be the chair for the city of Indio. And thank you for allowing me to continue in that position.
Absolutely.
And so we do appreciate that. And so some really great stuff going on with CVAG Executive. Sunline Transit Agency, we passed our budget. As you know, they were the leader in alternative fuel energy and buses with hydrogen cell. They just opened up their new hydrogen cell filling station, and now they're looking at the new operations building, which will now make the whole property and everybody that works on it in a real building. They've been in trailers for almost 20 years now. Those were going away. I was also elected chair of Sunline, so I'll be the chair for the next year of the Sunline Bus Agency. And so we'll look for other great things to happen from Sunline. They've got a lot of new stuff coming up, new routes, and also some new buses. They're looking at the 10th generation of hydrogen cell fuel buses to come out. So that's exciting. And then just a couple other things for the community with the Coachella Valley, Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce had their annual awards banquet. A lot of great honorees. Great to get out. There was almost 500 people there. It's one of the first events that we were actually to be in public, and it was at Indian Wells at the Esmeralda. A lot of great businesses were honored, and Ernesto Rosales was honored as the honoree. Ernesto, as you know, has been a stellar of our community for many years, and so it's great to see some people here in the city of Indio that have continued to be honored. Ribbon cutting, Dave's Hot Chicken. If you haven't been up there on the north side, over next to Chipotle's, they have 7 different flavors of chicken. It's owned by Carl Karcher, who is owns Carl's Jr.'s out here. Him and his wife Paula opened that up, and Rob was there, Mr. Rockwell, with me, and I had the mild, and it was very difficult, and I like food hot. They have the Reaper there that you actually have to sign a waiver, so I would really think twice about eating the Reaper chicken, the Dave's Hot Chicken. But if you haven't been up there, the north side is continuing to grow. We have our new dealerships coming in. We have a groundbreaking here very shortly.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing the Kia dealership very shortly. So really some exciting stuff. And then also the Indio Senior Center opened back up with the Friends of the Senior Center. Great to see our senior center opening up. Great staff that we have there is continuing to work for our seniors. A lot of things that went on behind the scenes really came out because, those people were working at our staff daily to continue to support our seniors, even though it wasn't open. They were given meals and other stuff. So my hat's off to all our staff, but our senior staff that was behind the scenes, because everybody thought those operations were closed down, and they weren't. They were out working daily. So we appreciate that. And then the last thing is we can go on and on. The corridor for me is the Priority 1 CV, which is a group of individuals that are continuing to try and get the Cal State San Bernardino campus turned into the Cal State Palm Desert campus. It's on the list with the governor of trying to decide which is going to be the next full-time campus between it and Stockton. Obviously, Stockton has a lot more people in it, but this campus was dedicated by many people to be a full-time 4-year campus for our education, for our students and people that want a higher education that didn't lead to Coachella Valley. And I think we all need to work towards that goal. The rise of education through our valley is going to help with the Palm Desert campus, and we're not in competition with anybody in this valley. We are a region, and what's best for all of us is what's best for one of us. And each city that benefits, we will all benefit equally if that educational campus comes down. So we need to look at what we can do to continue to support them. It's in the next couple of months. So if you look at it's called Priority 1 CV. Look up on their website and see how you can get involved to see what we can do about bringing that 4-year campus here to the Coachella Valley. So, Madam Mayor, that's it. Thank you very much.
Quite a bit. Thank you very, very much, Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. This morning I had a meeting with the Board of Coachella Valley Economic Partnership. They recently ran a recruitment program to try and recruit more businesses and better paying jobs to the Valley. They're also working with Kaiser Permanente to provide additional business advising services to their iHub clients through Pacific Coast Ventures. Their PPE distribution continues, so if you're a business in need of PPE, please reach out to them at cvep.com. That's cvep.com. Laura James from CVEP also ran a personal wealth presentation for the One Future Coachella Valley Student Leadership Conference, which received high interest from the youth in that conference. And they also just had their second PPP loan forgiven for $102,000. I also wanted to mention, considering the community concerns regarding the death in custody of Jose Lizarraga Garcia, I wanted to request if Chief Washburn could give us an update on what stage we're at regarding the county investigation. I also want to assure the community that I will support releasing any information to the family that is available to us as a city regarding any of the internal or external investigations, as long as we're legally allowed to release that information as we continue through the process. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Amit.
Thank you, Mayor. The only meeting that I attended in the past few weeks is the Riverside County Fair National Date Festival. The Board of Supervisors has decided to put out an RFP for the production and management of the annual fair activities. They recognize that the staff that the county has available to dedicate to the planning and operation of the fair is a skeleton crew, and they'd like to encourage production companies to apply to the RFP. The deadline is August 27th. So if there's any organizations out there, such as the organizations that applied for our Tamale Festival production, we would be very happy for them to take a look at that RFP. It's available on the county website for more information. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, perfect. And Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening and welcome. Looks like we're getting back to some norm. We're not there yet, but it's good to see some folks here and have some community engagement. So welcome back into the chambers. I did have two board meetings that I was that were on. I missed one. I was out of town, so the mayor stood in for me for the CVB, but I did attend the RCTC meeting. And there's a lot going on in RCTC, but a lot of it is in the Western County. And but one of the important and noticeable things that we talked about and we continue to talk about is the Coachella Valley San Gorgonio Pass Rail Corridor project. And that's still in the first tier. It may be some years down the line before we see that, but we're moving in the right direction. The community engagement portion of this tier had just concluded a couple of weeks ago. Just to give out some numbers of some of the engagement, there were 11 stakeholder and agency briefings. There were 2 virtual public hearings. There were 3,226 page views on the RCTC CV rail page, and also approximately 250 comments received. And notification efforts went out in English and Spanish with approximately 10 emails, 2 news releases, approximately 22 social media posts, and some websites and video campaigns. So we're, like I said, we're still ways away from that, but it's good to see the possibility of rail coming in to our community, and that's actually a deal breaker. I mean, these projects are incubation periods for a while. Sometimes the public's like, we need to get this done, but there's a lot of moving pieces to this. But I'm excited to see that we're moving in direction, and it's opens the door for a lot of different industries in our community. So especially when we're working on downtown, we have some exciting things coming downtown. If you haven't been down there recently, the CV Food Park recently opened back up, and they're doing a good job. They got a new design inside, some coffee and a bigger menu, I should say. So it's opened the door a lot of possibilities down there. And recently, we just received some communication with Amtrak that they're really interested in this. So that's big for Amtrak to come online and support this effort. So that was one of the things we discussed at RCTC. Now, let me see what I got into. What I want to do, I want to thank the community for our past 4th of July evening. Last year, not only in our community, but in our country, there were some struggles and challenges with illegal fireworks. And I can't speak for our department, but from the human eye, it looked like the numbers were better, looked like we did better. And we have to stress that it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And also for our police department to take calls on the 4th of July night when we're having illegal fireworks, it can be a dangerous situation. So I thank the community for really working with us and getting those numbers down. So I want to thank the community for that, and also our police department for what they're doing in these times. I also attended a grand opening for a new business in our city, Performance Bodyworks Fastest Stretch Therapy. It's located on 82900 Avenue 42, which is across the street from Dave's. So if you go over to Dave's Hot Chicken and the chicken is too much for you, you could go across the street and get stretched. And so just a congratulations to Performance Therapy, Chantel Grant, for opening that business. I mean, I think organically that area is starting to turn into like a wellness area where we have technique training there, which does martial arts and trains a lot of our youth, a lot of our folks. And now we have performance stress therapy. Across the street, we have some therapy places. We have 24-hour fitness. We have NutriSport, which is a supplement company in that area. So the area is kind of turning into a wellness area, and I like that. I like that idea of having that there. And I also attended the Dave's Hot Chicken grand opening. Now, I didn't have the hot stuff. I went with the regular. I played it safe, but it's excellent. It's a great addition to our community. Thank Carl, for bringing that here. And if you hadn't been there yet, go check it out. The lines are getting better. The line's been out the door. We had folks travel all from the valley to come get Dave's Hot Chicken. And that's what we're doing. We want to really focus on making Indio a destination. We want to give folks a reason to come here. So we're focusing on our 111 corridor. We're focusing on the Indio Grand Marketplace. We're focusing on downtown, and we want to give folks those destinations. We want you to spend your dollars in Indio. We want you to keep your dollars here, and that's better for our community as a whole. So in closing, I just want to give a couple of reminders that, you know, it's still warm. We're not there yet. We still have some time to go. So our cooling centers are open, Martha's Village and Kitchen, our public library, which is right here in the Civic Center Mall, Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, and also the Indio Senior Center. And you can find the times on our city website and also our Facebook page. And another reminder is that our 9 City Challenge Blood Drive is coming up. And that will be Thursday, July 29th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Indio Teen Center. And it's all 9 cities in our valley. And we want to make sure that Indio comes on top. It is a little competition, but it's also a good thing to do for our community and help saving folks' lives. I could just attest to this. When my mother was going through her journey with cancer, she received many blood transfusions. And so I thank the community for that. So I know firsthand how important this is. So if you're out in the community and you're listening to this, this information will be on our website. Once again, it'll be Thursday, July 29th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Indio Teen Center. And that will conclude my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all of the involvement in our community. I have everything and a little bit more. So one of the commissions I'm part of is the Transportation Center. And I think something that we have been working on for many, many, many years, maybe 8 to 10 years, is the signal synchronization program. We finally got there. We finally kicked it off. It was a little virtual groundbreaking, but the reality is that's going to mean a lot for traffic flow from one end of the valley to the other. So very, very important component there. Coachella Valley Conservation Commission, ongoing effort to continue to monitor and save the bighorn sheep. More importantly, to deal with the tamarisk removal throughout a lot of the open areas. The consumption of water from these trees really takes away from our water and our aquifers and our ability then to maintain it and sustain it. So there's an ongoing and significant effort to remove the tamarisk trees. Let's see, a couple of other things. Yes, thank you for mentioning the blood drive. So very important. Attended the Palm Springs CVB meeting, Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tourism is on the rise. It's a challenge getting some employees, but tourism has been one of the major drivers in our greater Coachella Valley, including Indio. Happy to hear that CVEP is looking at other businesses that can bring jobs and employment in, but tourism remains high. And the good news is we have many flights coming out of the Palm Springs airport, many, many, many flights. Flights are back. You can go from Palm Springs to just about anywhere. That's a good thing. Hotels are open, function and events are open, and that just brings more dollars to our valley spent in our restaurants and our businesses. And on that note, I'm just going to remind everyone, please keep your dollars in Indio, shop local, whether it's a local drugstore, the local restaurants, very, very important to each of our communities. Okay, on that note, I'd like to go on to the next item. Let's see, which are the presentations. Introduction of Division Chief Brian White by Robert Fish, CAL FIRE Deputy Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I come in front of you for the last time in service as your former fire chief. I'm here to introduce you to my replacement, who we hand selected for the city. Before I do that, I'd just like, if you'll indulge me, an opportunity one last time to say thank you to the city staff and for the time that I was here. It was very memorable, and I'm very proud of the accomplishments that we made individually as a fire department, but also as a community. And say thank you to my partner in public safety, Chief Washburn, and his staff The fire department doesn't operate well without our partners in law enforcement. And also to Rob Rockwell, who was a great partner and in many ways a mentor on how to figure out financing a fire department. So I hope that that continues with Brian in the coming years. And then also to Scott and Kevin, who were also instrumental in us helping to forward with the future public safety campus. I endorse that fully, not that you care, but just I'm all behind it. And also making progress with modernizing the fire marshal's office for better service for our community. So with that, enough about me. Just thank you. I appreciate that. And let me introduce you to Brian White. He's going to be the division chief who will be your fire chief and fire liaison for the county fire department. He is a longtime member of the Valley Fire Department, working throughout many of the cities here in the Valley. He is, I couldn't be happier about my replacement. The city was involved in his selection, so I know he aligns well with the values of the city, and he's much smarter than me. Just don't tell him that out loud. And I'm proud and happy, and I feel completely confident. And at any time, we're always still here. If Brian's not available and the city needs us, feel free to reach out to me and we'll make sure that you get what you need. With that, enough about me, more about Brian. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief. And welcome, Chief Brian White.
Oh, thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council and staff, City Manager Montgomery. Like the Chief said, my name is Brian White. I've got a little bit over 22 years in the fire service. The last 18 of those have been served out here in the Coachella Valley. And, I'm really looking forward to serving as your fire chief. I wanted to take just a brief moment, if I could, and just compliment you on your staff and your city manager. They're working very hard to make Indio the place to be. You have an amazing staff, and they have literally bent over backwards to bring me up to speed on all of the projects, the public safety campus, the fire station, and just all the various things that are going on in the city of Indio. And I'm honored to be here, and I really look forward to working with the team and getting started. So thank you very much for having me.
Terrific. Thank you. Welcome from all of us here on the council. Thank you very much. Yes, there's a lot going on. So hang on, because we'll be rocking and rolling in the city.
Yes, ma'am.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Did you? Please.
I'd like to make a comment, and this is for our fire officials here and for all of our firefighters. The last few weeks, we've been very, very busy with fires in our city and our surrounding communities. I just want to say thank you. I've been out to some of these areas when these fires are set, and it's unfortunate, but our firefighters are there quickly and do their job. So you're walking into a great situation. So thank you for being here and welcome to the city.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you. Okay, next presentation on tap is item number B, Tobacco Retail License Program. Presentation by Shadow Hills High School Interact Tobacco Task Force.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Scott Trujillo, your Deputy City Manager. I'll start off by saying to Mayor Pro Tem's point about getting back to normal. The one thing that hasn't is my weight. So this necktie and so forth, a little snug these days. So let's hope that gets back to normal. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the Shadow Hills Interact Club Tobacco Task Force. I believe this is their third time to present to the council. And upon conclusion of their presentation back in January of this year, City Council had requested more detail prior to you considering the ordinance that they're recommending. Okay, so this, I call this a very poised group, but it play off of the 3 Ps that we are being tasked with. So this polite, professional, and progressive, poised high school students are here to provide you with exactly that, your answers to some of the questions you asked back in January. So I'd like to hand it over to the Shadow Hills Interact Club, the Tobacco Task Force. So Alyssa and Jackie, if you're online, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jackie Orozco, and I am a former Interact publicist. And I am happy to announce that we have all officially graduated from Indio Shadow Hills High School.
Very good. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Ortega, and I am also a former Interact member and also a graduate of Indio Shadow Hills High School. We would like to formally thank the City of Indio and their council members for inviting us back today. We are former members of the Indio Shadow Hills Interact Club representing the Tobacco Task Force. When we last met on January 20th, 2021, we provided more direct detail about Riverside County's tobacco retail permitting, the implementation of the program, and what it would mean for the retailers and the community if the City of Indio were to join the 20 other county localities in protecting the health of youth by adopting a tobacco retail permitting ordinance. Today, we are here to address City Council members' questions that were raised after our last presentation. We will be discussing the differences in state-funded tobacco programs and locally funded tobacco programs, as well as clearing up any misconception about the California tobacco product tax and how those funds are allocated. We hope that the research we have done over the past few months provides the insight City Council needs to make an informed decision to proceed forward with the implementation of the tobacco retail licensing program of the City of Indio. Today, we will be discussing the California tobacco taxes, state versus local tobacco permitting programs, data refresh, community benefits of the tobacco retail permitting program, city versus county administered TRPs, organizational support, and closing remarks.
So here are 3 areas of focus: tobacco, California tobacco tax, State Act program, and Riverside County's local tobacco retail permitting program. This is what you want to remember. First and foremost, California tobacco tax stands alone from the issue at hand. Secondly, California's State Act program outlines the rules for all retailers selling tobacco to minors. And most importantly, Riverside County TRP is the enforcement of those rules. So let's jump right in. So first, taxes. California tobacco tax, just like many other state implied taxes, is a direct cost to consumers. For every tobacco product that is purchased, the consumer pays a tax on that item. Funds from tobacco taxes are not allocated nor associated with the state and local tobacco retailing programs. So we want to make sure we are clear here. What we are talking about today is the tax that consumers pay when purchasing tobacco products. Manufacturers, importers, wholesalers, and tobacco distributors do pay taxes on the products they plan to sell, distribute, or manufacture, which funds those operations. Because just like any other product or service anyone tends to monetize, taxes are imposed. The $2.87 listed above is a consumer-based tax on all purchased tobacco products. The state's tax revenue is allocated to various funds like the ones listed above. The revenue from the consumer paid California tobacco tax is not used to regulate illegal tobacco sales to youth access to tobacco, nor the enforcement associated with either.
The State Stop Tobacco Access to Kids Enforcement Act is under the pre-existing law, the California Cigarette and Tobacco Licensing Act of 2003. State Act establishes various requirements for retailers relating to tobacco sales to minors. With over 35,000 tobacco retailers in the state of California, the State Act was only enforcing this law to 7% of retailers statewide, which resulted in retailers paying state fees, but not abiding by the state law. In fact, a 2004 tobacco-free kids study conducted in California contrasted youth behavior with retailer behavior in contributing to underage tobacco sales. The results showed retailer behavior was the strongest predictor of cigarette sales to youth and reiterated the need for intervention with retailers. In order for California to seek true change in reducing illegal tobacco sales to minors, something had to be done locally. So that is why implementing TRPs locally is of mass importance. Now, there are more than 100 communities in California adopting strong local tobacco retailer licensing ordinances, There is no doubt that local enforcement does decrease underage sales to youth, but the funding that is received by the State Act program does not effectively support local enforcement at the level that would be effective. Cities have found that relying on the State Act has not proven to reduce access to youth. We are grateful for the State Act program for many reasons, one being its contribution to the statewide requirement for any retailer to have sign posted at the point of purchase stating the sale of tobacco products to minors is illegal. But even after its enactment in 2004, youth advocates spoke up against major flaws with the State Act program. Like many newly imposed government laws, the state's plan provided little to no solution for local enforcement. A study conducted by Peter Jacobson and Jeffrey Wasserman on the implementation and enforcement of tobacco control laws examined California's State Act program and concluded by stating the following: local enforcement is a critical ingredient to the success of virtually any effort to reduce youth access to tobacco. To be effective, legislation should always and must contain specific enforcement measures. The State Act program is the foundation which gives localities the opportunity to put forth local policies that protect the health of youth. Therefore, Riverside County implemented an ordinance to improve the enforcement of the State Act program here locally. The county's TRP ordinance 838.2 was developed to address the enforcement disparities that were existing at the state level. As mentioned previously, the State Act program that is intended to reduce youth access to tobacco is currently only enforcing TRP to 7% of retailers statewide. Retailers have been proven to comply to state legislation at higher rates when the necessary interventions such as education, outreach, and on-site training are readily available. Local TRPs address that need. When cities adopt TRP policies, retailers reap the benefit the program provides because the resources made available by the TRP program ensures that retailer licensees are properly maintained and that all retailers are complying with the state mandates. Tobacco retailers pay $457 per year to the Department of Environmental Health, which covers the costs of inspection, enforcement of State Act laws, and the time spent monitoring them. This yearly fee generates revenue for the various aspects of the program, including routine inspections, decoy operations, recruiting and training decoys for the operation, education and outreach to retailers, administrative hearings for the non-compliant facilities, citation issuance and appeals, along with administrative time for data input, filing, and occasional cooperation and coordination with outside enforcement agencies. Cities who have adopted the county's TRP program reported the benefits of having consistent tobacco retail standards and uniform enforcement efforts.
Here's a data refresh. To the left, we have data from Riverside County's Department of Environmental Health, who assessed Indio and determined the youth illegal sales rate of tobacco in the city of Indio is 13% versus Riverside County's 8% illegal youth sales rate. But 13% is not the focus here. It is important to remember that as long as there is one youth getting tobacco in Indio, then there are many youth getting tobacco in Indio. And the job here to support retailers who are following the laws. There is one retailer selling tobacco illegally while other retailers are not. That creates an economic disadvantage, which should be addressed. To the right, we have data showing how the implementation of a TRP program improved illegal sales rates throughout various cities within our county. For example, Coachella's illegal sales rate completely dropped after they adopted the county's TRP in 2007. We also got the opportunity to speak to city staff in Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs regarding how the TRP has been received by the community and businesses. Both cities said the program has been more than successful, and the city has not received compliance from retailers. In fact, retailers have been cooperated, inquiring mainly about permit fee renewals, which the Department of Environmental Health kindly addresses. So we wanted to lay out options for implementation because there are cities that decide to combat illegal tobacco sales to minors via their own city-established programs. City-developed TRPs allow for a more comprehensive policies like the addition of flavor bans. Cities can also set their own price for program fees and develop their own terms for enforcement. But any city considering developing their own TRP program should keep in mind the potential challenges. The Tobacco Retail Licensing Quality Assurance Summary Report of June 2020 compared the difference between county versus city developed ordinances and determined that there are key challenges to enforcing a city developed TRP ordinance. Both cities, Temecula and Palm Desert, that passed their own ordinance included very low licensing fees that were not sufficient to cover the cost of the administration and enforcement of the TRP program. They also found that those with city-developed TRP ordinances did not have written protocols for enforcement. It's important to understand why the county's TRP program is highly suggested because county TRP is an already drafted ordinance for cities to adopt. County TRP also aligns with state requirements and adheres accordingly to youth access laws. And again, enforcement plans are very key to a successful program. With the county TRP, cities do not use their own resources. The Department of Environmental Health carries out intervention activities, which includes enforcement, education, and administration.
Frequently asked questions. Question 1. What is the difference between state tobacco taxes and TRP fees? The $2.87 tax imposed on each tobacco product sale is paid by the consumer. It does not pay for services such as enforcement. California tobacco taxes are collected to fund various state-level initiatives like cancer research, education, and prevention amongst residents. But the tobacco taxes do not support local enforcement programs like TRPs. Question 2. What is the state program and how is it different from the local TRP program? The California State Act program establishes various requirements for retailers relating to tobacco sales to minors and aims to enforce legislation statewide. But due to the state's limited resources, the State Act success rates have been low, which has resulted in many local agencies having to find better solutions to enforcing laws. This is where adopting the TRP comes in, to ensure that local measures are in place that will hold tobacco retailers responsible. What local programs are currently in place to make sure youth understand the dangers of tobacco use? In 1988, Proposition 99 was approved by voters to fund school-based tobacco use prevention and education programs. So here, locally and statewide, there is a program called 2P Tobacco Use Prevention Education Program that is aimed to provide tobacco use education, outreach, and prevention to school-aged youth.
Why tobacco retail permitting? 1, it increases safety standards. The presence of a tobacco retail permitting program in India standardizes the proper checking of IDs. Statewide surveys have shown that many people aren't even aware that the legal age to buy tobacco is 21, not 18. Education given by the Department of Environmental Health will prevent retailers from being fined while reducing illegal underage access to tobacco within India. 2, it ensures compliance with the Department of Environmental Health responsible for enforcement. The City of India will not have to utilize their police departments or code enforcement staff to ensure that retailers are complying to state and local laws. This is important because the TRP ordinance ultimately preserves the city's resources. 3, it creates a better environment for tobacco retailers. According to the State Department of Public Health California Tobacco Control Program survey, cities who have adopted a local TRP see lower rates of retailers getting their tobacco license suspended. 4, it protects health of youth and residents. By adopting policies that reduce tobacco among youth, India can have a greater impact on creating fair opportunities for residents within our community, which promotes a healthy tobacco-free life and creates a healthier retail environment, as mentioned in City of India's general plan. Here are a few local organizations that work directly with residents throughout the Coachella Valley. Indio Rotary, Love of Christ Church, Coachella Valley Community Collaborative, Indio Wind Center, and the Desert Recreation District have all shown support and believe that a local program to address youth access to tobacco will be beneficial to the City of Indio.
We would like City Council to support us in working with city staff so that tobacco retail permitting policy can be considered for adoption. Let's partner together to bring forward the best solution in reducing illegal tobacco sales to youth in the City of Indio. Thank you.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
So the next steps, Madam Mayor, would be if the pleasure of the council to bring this back for this particular ordinance. We work out the details, whether we do the county model or the city, and bring it back for adoption. But it's your call if that is the pleasure of the council to bring this back.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank you ladies and the previous Interact team. You put a tremendous amount of effort into this, and I know that you're very passionate about this. So thank you very, very much. What is the pleasure of the council here? Do you wish to see this brought back to council for review and possible adoption?
I still have a question.
Go right ahead.
Prop 99 was briefly mentioned, but no details were given on, is that a per pack fee or what the annual funding is for that program, which was supposed to manage youth intervention and prevention?
Alyssa, Jackie, are you able to answer that?
We will follow later on with that question.
Yeah,
Okay, I think that's an important answer because I know in my lifetime, many tobacco taxes have been passed. And to date, there's never enough funding to do the amount of enforcement that some organizations would like to see. So before we consider moving forward, I still think we need to have the complete picture of the total fees that are added on a pack of cigarettes and how they're being used as far as the state or whatever program receives those funding.
So this is Barbara Dreiss from the Indio Rotary Club that's been working with the girls on this project. And the 287 tax is a per pack tax. But the total amount that's gathered with all of those packs of cigarettes sold does not pay for services such as enforcement. It really wasn't even intended to pay for enforcement.
Right, so, I understand that, but I'm asking about how much is being assessed for Prop 99 for the education and prevention.
I can go ahead and answer that question. The cigarette tax per pack is then deposited into 6 different accounts by a formula. 20% of the tax goes to health education to prevent and reduce tobacco use. 35% goes to healthcare services for low-income patients served by hospitals. 10% goes to healthcare services for low-income patients served by physicians. 5% goes to tobacco related disease research, and 5% goes to protect, restore, enhance fish and wildlife habitat, enhance state and local park and recreation resources. And then there's an unallocated account of 25% that's available for any of the above purposes.
But you're talking about the 287. I'm not talking about the 287. I want to know.
This is Prop 99.
Prop 99.
Yes,
What
this
is
is
the
Prop
amount
99.
assessed per pack?
25 cents per pack, and then it's distributed by that percentage in those accounts.
Okay. So the total tax on each, I think, pack of cigarettes is $12 or $15 now. Only $3 of that is taxes? Is that what you're trying to say?
25%, that's correct.
25% of the pack of cigarette is for tax or proposition.
What?
Is that what you mean, Mr. Trujillo?
No, 25. So what Prop 99 did is it increased the state cigarette tax by 25 cents per pack on top of whatever other taxes there are.
And that's what I'm trying to get to. Out of the $12 or $15 that a consumer pays for a pack of cigarettes, how much of that is taxes or propositions or fees? That was the question.
I think we'll have to probably come back and get some of that detail and some of that information. A good question, Councilmember Amit, but let's bring some of that detail back at the next meeting. Does anyone else have any questions on the presentation? Go ahead.
I would be in favor of the county program. I think this should be outsourced to the county. I think we see from the presentation how effective it's been in other communities. And also, you know, we see that we have the higher rates compared to the county-wide numbers. And, you know, even though we might not have as high rates as other cities, we want to make sure that there's enforcement in this sector. And also because of the effects that this can have, you know, especially how susceptible our youth are to some of these products, stopping it before it gets worse, right? Stopping it before it starts would be great. And because of the addiction issues that can come forward, you know, it could be lifelong addiction issues, healthcare issues, and even, you know, effects on people later on when they're trying to get work, you know, if their appearance isn't the same, right, because of damage to their health or to their appearance, it also affects our residents in that way. So I think it's really important for us to stop this at the youth level before it starts into those lifelong problems.
Okay.
Yeah, no one's negating the benefits of the program. What I want to get down to is how much money is already being charged to the consumer, because enforcement is happening in Indio as we speak. It happens regularly. So it's not like we don't have enforcement. Somehow, you know, organizations don't feel that that's enough enforcement, which we can say that about any program in the city. But I want to know, how much is a consumer already being charged for a pack of cigarettes for all of these programs that are supposed to prevent, educate youth, and all these other programs?
Okay,
I think an important issue for this is that this program will not add any taxes to a pack of cigarettes.
We understand that. It's just more money from our businesses.
Yes.
What I would recommend is these questions that are being posed, let's bring those back along with, I believe the county proposal would work. Right now with enforcement, we're spread thin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our code, we're trying to catch up to our growth in our community, but other things are growing as well. Tobacco products are growing. Smoke shops are growing, right? And the diverse product that's out there that's our youth has access to, outreach and education is important. Enforcement is important too, but it's better to be proactive than reactive, because some of these issues and effects are not reversible. So I would support coming back with the county,
Yeah.
but also having those questions that are being posed brought back to us as well.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. And in fact, unless Councilmember Miller has something to say, I would suggest that you come back with answers to those questions.
Yeah, and if I could, I concur, but Scott, if you're going to come back, and it looks like we prefer the county to handle it, what is the county going to provide for that money? You know, we have so many people that are distributors of cigarette or products of tobacco. If we get, let's say we charge the $256 comes through, what is the county going to provide us for that money that we're going to be giving to them? It's kind of like I don't want to compare it to something, but like the animal services. What are we going to get for the money we're going to give? Is it going to be one person every other week? Is that, let's see what kind of benefit we have to it to make sure that it's beneficial to the city of Indio. Obviously, we all agree that tobacco sales to minors is not something we want, but is it going to be another pit in a hole that we're throwing money at the county and we get somebody one day for 8 hours? Or is it going to be something we can utilize that actually makes a difference?
I'm happy to work with this team and come back with those answers.
I appreciate
Sorry,
that.
but are we coming back as an agenda item, or are we going to do another presentation? Because the last time we did this, we did the same thing where we said, hey, here are all these questions, come back and then we'll decide.
I think we're not going to do another presentation. We're going to come back and we're going to answer some of the questions.
As the
and
agenda, as an agenda
however,
item?
right, however,
In a staff report.
right,
Okay, thank you.
right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I know. All right. So the next item, appointments, number 7, designation of a voting delegate for League of California Cities. I don't know who all is going to the conference, September 22nd through 24th up in Sacramento. I am not. Who would like to be a voting delegate and secondary delegate as well, alternate? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem will be the delegate, and who would like to be the alternate?
I can be the secondary. Yeah.
Thank you for being the alternate, Councilmember Ortiz. We have that information and can move forward. Let's go on to item number 8, City Manager reports and information.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank all of the residents that participated in some of the surveys that have been going on in the community, trying to learn more about where we want Indio to go and what Indio is. It's been great and reassuring to see the response. There have been a couple of surveys out there, and we'll be bringing in those results soon and presenting those. But wanted to thank all those that participated. That input will also assist us in the development of a strategic plan. So we met last week for a kickoff meeting, and we're planning another one on a special meeting on August 30th. So we look forward as we roll that out and continued resident input as we develop that plan and give clear direction to this team to get things done. So thank you, Mayor.
Right, thank you very much. And we'll go on to item number 9, public comments for items not on the agenda. This is the time set aside for public comment for items not on the agenda. We ask either that you call in or fill out a slip. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes and 3 minutes only, and there will be no donating of time or minutes. Each succinct individual person will have 3 minutes. And on that note, I will defer to our city clerk to see if there's anyone in the queue online.
Yes, Mayor, we have 2 members of the public. We will start with Annalisa Vargas. Annalisa, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Holmes, Mayor Pro Tem Furman, council members, and Mr. Montgomery. I'm Annalisa Vargas, lead community organizer with Communities for New California. I wanted to thank the city manager, Bryant Montgomery, for meeting with community residents on July 7th to discuss affordable housing and strategies to increase opportunities for the development of affordable housing for our working families and residents. It was great to meet you and to speak to you in person. It was a very fruitful conversation, and we look forward to working with the city and other partners on this priority issue. A few days ago, I saw footage on Instagram from a June 2nd City Council meeting where the housing crisis Indio residents are facing was being discussed. Councilwoman Lupe Ramos appeared to show little interest in the topic as she was preoccupied with changing her backgrounds and playing with filters on Zoom. At one point, she was donning a pair of shades. What is concerning is that it appears that not everyone is on the same page when it comes to prioritizing the needs of our community regarding affordable housing. This type of behavior is not only disrespectful to the council, but to the community as a whole. At this time, it is imperative to prioritize our working families and residents to prevent displacement and further hardship. We hope that it is not an indication of how you will prioritize important housing policies and goals that will be brought forth to the council for a vote. Our families and residents deserve better. We strongly recommend that the city have a pro-housing designation or jurisdiction as other cities have done. The city could earn points and preferences in grant programs, which would assist with fund implementation of the housing element program. We know that the community residents would be very supportive of this and know that you would have all of our support. We expect to see action and change when it comes to developing more affordable and quality housing opportunities in the city of Indio. Thank you so much for your time and attention to this matter.
Okay, City Clerk, next person in the queue, please.
Mayor, I don't see the other speaker on the queue, so we don't have any more for now.
Okay, I'll go ahead with my paper copies of requests to speak. The first one is Wendell Phillips, please.
My name is Wendell Phillips. I'm the General Counsel for the Indio Police Command Unit. I am here tonight to ask you to finally do something about a problem that's been developing for about 6 months in the police department. It's culminated in, for the first time in my experience, I've been doing this a long time. I was a cop for 25 years and I've been representing police officers for about 17 more. This is the first time I've ever seen a command union and a line union both take a position of no confidence in their police chief. 88% of your line officers and 77% of your lieutenants and sergeants have said that they have no further confidence in this chief of police. This isn't something that came up overnight. He's been here about 5 years and there have been some ups and downs. But 6 months ago, I advised your then city manager and your city attorney that we believe that the chief and Assistant Chief Schaefer had lied under oath in a disciplinary hearing. And I made it clear that I thought that was discoverable information that needed to be brought to the attention of the opposing counsel's attention and also to the arbitrator. When nothing was done, I reported it to the arbitrator and he did exactly what I thought he would do. He reopened the hearing and ordered the chief and the assistant chief to subject themselves to examination again by the defense attorney. Now, that's pretty serious. And what's even more serious is that you started an investigation, your previous city manager, I guess, started an investigation and then suspended it when it became obvious that if the two individuals who were involved gave statements to your investigator, those statements would have to be given to the defense counsel for the accused officer. That hearing was reconvened on January 28th. I've read the transcript and I have to tell you that in my opinion, and I'm an attorney, I've been doing this for a while, I've been cross-examining witnesses for a while, the chief was equally untruthful in that appearance. And I think that will be plain when you finally get investigated it, or when you finally get through investigating it. The problem is now, next month, he will vest in lifetime medical and a pension. And if he's responsible for the things he's done, including the retaliatory investigations he's ordered against subordinate personnel since this matter came to the forefront, and some of the retaliatory transfers that have been done lately, if he is guilty of those things, and I believe he will be found responsible for them, it'll be too late. He'll have already vested in lifetime medical and the pension and right off into the sunset with the publicly supported benefits that, very frankly, we don't think he deserves. So this has been going on for 6 months. You've had two city managers work on it. It's a crisis. It's a crisis of conscience. It's a crisis of confidence. It's a crisis of character. Your police officers do a tough job. They need leadership, and they need leadership from you. Thank you.
Next request to speak, Leo Parafan, please.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor, City Manager, and Chief of Police. We won't be giving a public comment. I'm a sergeant with the India Police Command Unit, And we would just want a time for Mr. Phillips to finish his comments, but that's all we have at this time. Thank you.
I have another request to speak from Chris Shannon.
Madam Mayor, Council, I was signed up to speak for Mr. Phillips so he could finish his statement. I'm a sergeant with the Police Command Unit. Thank you.
And Chris Hamilton.
My name is Chris Hamilton. I'm the president of the Police Command Unit. I signed up to defer my time to Mr. Phillips. I'm sure you know what this issue was about today before the meeting. We spoke to the city clerk about maybe just getting a minute or two was our explanation. And I'm very disappointed that you wouldn't grant us the ability to defer our time to our representative. I'm pretty sure this is probably one of the most important issues on the council agenda today. And the fact that you wouldn't even grant us an extra minute or two to tell our story says a lot about how this has been handled. I'm very disappointed. I wasn't going to talk, but I'm not going to let you short us our time. I'll use all the time. All these people here, only 5 POA members voted that they support this chief. 5 out of their entire membership, 100%. These people are here to support us. They're not here to support him. They know about the retaliatory nature of this administration. They want to become sergeants and lieutenants someday. This is probably why they're not up here. I don't want to get promoted. There's a rumor I want to be the chief. I don't want to be the chief of this city or any other department. I'll be happy to retire right where I am. We just want a chief that'll do the right thing and treat us right. I've been here for 21 years. We've never done a vote of no confidence. Never talked about a vote of no confidence. There's been some surveys done, but nothing, anything like this. I met with the city manager. I told him this was going to happen. I told him this was going to be in the news. It was going to be a black eye on the city. He gave me 5 minutes of his time, 5 minutes. He didn't call me back and say, let's have coffee. He didn't say, maybe we can work this out. He didn't say, give us another week. 5 minutes. We walked out, Jason Polanco and I, and we never heard from him again. 17 years of experience. 2 leaders of his police department. He gave us a total of 30 minutes. And he knew the issues we were coming to talk about. This is not how you lead. Lead is through communication and trust, building equity and relationships. There is no trust. There is no equity. We rely on you. You hire the city manager. You hire the city attorney, the former city manager. They knew what was going on. Nothing has been done. Nothing. And I'm fed up. I'm upset. I'm not going to let you take my time. I'll be back here every meeting until something is done and you won't take my time. Thank you.
Okay, that's the request to speak that I had. Are there any additional?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. City Clerk? Next item. Item number 10, the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to pull anything or have any questions?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item D.
Okay. What about the rest of the consent calendar? Are there any questions or anything anybody would like to pull, or do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the consent calendar as presented, excluding item D.
I'll second.
Okay.
Excluding item D.
And we still need to do roll call.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramosami,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman,
Aye.
and Mayor Holmes.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. I'd like to go back to item number D. I do have a request to speak from a James Vaughn.
Honorable Mayor, council members, good evening. My name is James Vaughn. I'm Land Use Counsel for Church at the Red Door. I'm here to request that the item do be pulled from the consent calendar, which has occurred, and that the city council reconsider the issue of access from Avenue 49 to and from the church. Unfortunately, the modification made at the initial city council meeting on this issue of emergency access only is just a deal killer for the project. It kills the project. And so we'd like to work collaboratively with the city and find a solution to this access that addresses the concerns that were raised and also allows the church to go forward successfully. Thank you. And we're here to answer any questions you might have on the issue.
Okay, this is not, if I may remind everyone, thank you, sir, but this is not a public hearing. City Council, Councilmember Glenn Miller, your thoughts on?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we've talked about this item and we talked about ingress and egress of the actual property, I know people didn't want it to be able to utilize on 49th, but I think the way that the city council brought this forward and agreed to go ahead and move it forward is actually more unsafe than it would have been to allow a little bit of access on 49th for a right turn in and a left turn out. The problem that most people thought about was that there was an issue with traffic going to go down 49. And as you can see from this, with the development going on in Citrus Plaza 2, the more businesses going in, I think this makes it unsafe. I think we need to bring this back. And we need to look at changing this to allow a right turn in and a left turn out on 49th. Most people, if they're going to drive and they're concerned about traffic on 49, they're going to pull out on Jefferson Street and then turn right on 49 and go down. I think it's very unsafe for the city to continue to move forward as we've already agreed. And I'd like to pull this and have it redone and with allowing access on 49 for a right turn in and a left turn out.
Okay, well, there's a couple of ways we can do it, but any
Honorable
comments
Mayor?
from the council?
Honorable Mayor, we spent an hour deliberating this when it first came for public hearing. I don't think it's right that Councilmember Miller is trying to reopen a public hearing. We already gave its due diligence. It was voted down. It's something that we as a council have to accept as a whole and move on.
Duly noted.
I agree with Councilmember Miller. I think those are my concerns in the beginning when we were going over this. And that's why I voted no on the decision that was made, because we could see that this was going to be an issue for the project. So I would agree with fixing that issue and providing some ingress and egress on 49.
Okay, then sort of the process at this point, and I'll engage city attorney here, is a couple things. We can do a substitute motion, or we can do the second reading and see how that moves forward. What is your advice?
If I can, Mayor?
Yes, please.
I'm looking at this item and looking at Avenue 49. I've seen on here where displayed that this has already been taken into consideration. Now, the council went through this, we voted on this. And from my perspective, folks who live in that community live there for a reason. They moved there for a reason. And we're trying to work with the church to get it in there. We're trying to work with anyone that was going to come in there. But that community is set up for that. Those folks moved there for a reason. And it's just like any other community. And so I'm not in favor of bringing it back. I think this is what we went with. And, I'm one vote, but I have to voice that we voted on this.
I make a motion to move forward consent item number D.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
And just to clarify, that would mean to adopt the current ordinance.
That's right.
As is.
Right.
And do we have to vote on this, or can I make a substitute motion?
You can make a substitute motion.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we bring it back with access for the church to have right turn in and left turn out off of 49th Avenue. And I believe it is because of safety reasons. If it's going to move forward, it needs to be done properly.
I'll second the substitute motion.
So because, let me try to explain. So because we have, let me step back. An ordinance requires 2 readings in order for it to be effective. And so at first reading, we introduce the ordinance, we read the title, and we waive full reading. And then the second reading comes at least 5 days thereafter. While unusual, if a change is made to an ordinance after first reading has occurred, then the proper way to do it would be to reintroduce the ordinance, waive full reading, read by title only, with the change that it is that you desire. Or alternatively, you can request that it be continued and direct staff with whatever it is that you need in terms of information.
I'd prefer to start it over.
You'd prefer what?
I'd prefer to start and make the motion and not move it back to staff. We've done enough time on this. It is a safety concern. They need to have access on 49th. I understand that there are people lived in that community. There's also new development going all over there in that area. And so things change as the community changes. This needs to be a safe project and needs to move forward with the right turn in, left turn out.
Then that would be a motion to reintroduce the ordinance with that change.
Then I'll make that motion with those changes.
And so, City Attorney, with that, we have a motion and a second for the second reading as it stands, and we have a motion and a second to reintroduce the ordinance with a change.
So as we did the last time, under Robert's rules, the alternative motion is taken up first. If the alternative motion passes by an affirmative 3 votes, then we do not entertain the first motion or the main motion. If the alternative motion fails, then we do entertain the main motion. And just to clean up the motion, as it would be to reintroduce the ordinance, waive full reading, have the clerk read by title only with the change that Mr. Miller directed. And there was a motion, that alternative motion.
Yes.
And then there was a second by
Councilmember
Ortiz.
So we need at this point to take a roll call vote, correct?
Yes, if the clerk will take a vote on the substitute motion.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Nay.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman,
Nay.
and Mayor Holmes.
Nay. So the substitute motion does not pass.
The substitute motion does not pass. Then we take up the main motion, and the main motion is to adopt ordinance number 1761. And there is a corrected ordinance in the packet.
Okay, so I've already had a first and a second on this. So do we just need to go straight into?
Then we
roll
just
call
go
vote?
into roll call vote on the main motion.
Councilmember Miller,
Nay.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman,
Aye.
and Mayor Holmes.
Aye.
And that motion passes. Then ordinance number 1761 has been adopted. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, City Attorney. Now.
Just to clarify, this was a second reading and adoption.
Okay, and the adoption process. Okay, item number 11, administrative items. 11A, professional services agreement with CUSP Agency LLC in the not to exceed amount of $200,037.50 for event management services for the Indio International Tamale Festival with budget adjustments.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Scott Trujillo, Deputy City Manager. So yes, this item is to order contract regarding the Tamale Festival. What I think I'd like to do first is to provide a bit of historical perspective, how we got here to the point of recommending CUSP Agency. So chronologically, if I may, the Tamale Fest conversations began back in mid to late April. And as you call, back then we were still in lockdown with COVID and unsure if these large scale events could even occur. So there's lots of uncertainty during even those early discussions. Our former city manager suggested we contact actually Golden Voice, reach out to them and see if there's any interest in hosting the Tamale Festival. So we did exactly that, reached out to Golden Voice, and they said, you know what, we are not interested, but we have the perfect person and perfect company to do that. And that's actually, they recommended CUSP during those discussions. So then we met with CUSP in late April and just asked, is this something you'd be interested in pursuing, and would be willing to submit a proposal? So that was late April. So then in May, we connected actually with a second agency, a local firm, and asked if they'd be interested to submit a proposal. And they said yes. So then in early June, we received both proposals and also received presentations from these two agencies. Meanwhile, there was a third local agency that reached out to us, and we offered them the opportunity to submit a proposal as well. They respectfully declined. So based upon the two presentations that we did receive of the two companies, we leaned toward CUSP. However, we thought, you know what, it'd be great if we could get both of these entities to work together. And so we approached CUSP and asked if they would subcontract out with the other company, and they said yes. And then I went back to company number 2 and said, would you be willing to, either can bring you on board as a subcontractor? And they declined and were not willing to do that. Fortunately, I was able to confirm with CUSP. I approached them again and said, would you be willing to subcontract with company number 3 that didn't propose, but they can bring this kind of local DNA, local flair. And again, CUSP obliged and said, sure, I'd be happy to subcontract them. So I also sought initially a 1-year deal with CUSP agency with the intent of going back out for RFP in January of 2022. However, this was turned out to be a deal breaker for CUSP, and I can allow them to elaborate on why that was. That 1-year agreement was a deal breaker. So just rest assured that there was due diligence that occurred working with 3 agencies. It's essentially an informal RFP, if you will. And just for the record, an RFP is not required in this process. So there's no laws that were broken. But before we kind of get into any questions on this particular contract and so forth, what I'd like to do is ask CUSP agency's president, Gopi Sangha, to provide you with the PowerPoint of what they're willing to bring to the Tamale Festival. And kind of the analogy that I'm thinking is that, you know, when we go to rent or buy a new house, we want to get a tour of it, right? To see if we're willing to make that investment in that. So it makes sense to have him present before we go to questions. So Madam Mayor, if you're okay, I'd like to ask Gopi to come up and do a presentation.
Absolutely.
Let's make sure this is right. Yes, thank you.
Evening, Madam Mayor, council members, Chief of Police, City Manager Montgomery. It's a pleasure to be here again. It's been some years since I've been up here. I think some of you all might recognize me from the polo fields as a young pup producing festivals. Since we have started our own business over the last 3-4 years where we focus on experiential production. Me and my team work exclusively in the live entertainment space. And we are quite involved here in the Coachella Valley till this day and in and around the festivals that come around in the spring. So, when I was first approached by this opportunity to service this distinguished event, I wasn't quite sure that it was the right fit for us, you know, to be honest. But I sat and I thought about it some, and I thought of a story, a memory of my first evening here in downtown Indio. In 2008, I was the event producer at UC Riverside. I produced the music festivals there. And there was a couple of students that came to the school that were here from the community, DJ Alfalfa, Rafael Lopez, and Sarah Scheideman of the Coachella Valley art scene. And they told me that they were producing an event at the Date Farmer studio here right across the street where Blue Screen Studios is right today. And they said, we think you would love it. And I took the trip with them. I spent the night here. They produced an amazing program of music, bands, and cultures right out here on the parking lot. And we went late into the night, and our friends at IPD came over and checked up on us and let us kept doing our thing. And I did leave 14 years ago from that event quite inspired, honestly, with freedom and environment that this place had to offer. And 14 years later, I'm still committed to this desert and this valley. I was lucky enough to start as a volunteer in the campgrounds at Coachella in 2008 and working with the executive team from 2010 to 2018 on Coachella and Stagecoach. Many of the veterans on IPD or city services or CAL FIRE probably remember me from command and control meetings or operations. And you know, I think about that evening and how it inspired my career, producing events across the country, major music festivals in big cities and small communities alike. I've seen how these experiences genuinely impact the communities that host them and create a culture and fabric that creates inspiration. That inspiration drove me for many years. And I saw this as a vessel to continue inspiring the young and creative communities here in the city of Indio. And I hope in this opportunity, we're able to create a generation of young artists and entrepreneurs in the creative fields that we hope to tell their stories through the vessel of this Tamale Festival and hopefully uplift them into their next platforms in life, be it a bigger festival or a bigger show or another opportunity. So when I thought about that, it came full circle to me to contribute and propose to this. And I thought it would be an honor to come and produce for the community that has given me a whole career that I cherish very much. My team is very familiar with the Coachella Valley. Most of them have worked the festivals here for many, many years. You know, Kevin McDermott, my finance director here, is a Raja as well. With that said, I'd like to show you some of our ideas and vision for Tamale Festival. No, these are all conceptual concepts that we kind of cooked up, but as we hopefully proceed forward together, we'll continue to hear the community's feedback, the feedback of council members here. Ultimately, this event is to serve your constituents, and they should be represented. And we do have plans to include local and community curators. Like Scott mentioned earlier, we've already identified some from Jonathan Becerra and Andrew Gonzalez. Andrew was in a young band that I promoted at Coachella. That's something that a lot of young bands know me for around here, is giving them an opportunity to play at the big stages at the show. And I'm very proud of my relationships here in the city of Indio, not just from backyard bands, but from everyone here. We've all created, you know, very visceral experiences together, and I hope to continue that tradition here in the city of festivals. So, let's see. There we go. I found the right button. You know, when thinking about, you know, what is our objective in producing this event, you know, we want to take a fresh take on the experience that the Tamale Festival offers. Everyone treasures it as a milestone in the community, full of delicious foods. But how can we modernize this concept to be more playful, more inclusive of the diverse communities here in the city of Indio? How can we create a new festival culture that builds on some of the themes and communities that have been represented here before, and how can we produce a genuinely unique cultural experience here in the city of Indio in the month of December. We intend to engage community businesses, community groups. We intend to find opportunities for them to raise funds through some of our revenue strategies, which we'll show you, and include that wherever possible into the entire experience. I think one thing that we'll be bringing uniquely beyond our production expertise to this experience, my agency in specific, we are specialized in brand partnerships at events. So our ability to package and create new revenue opportunities for the event, which will hopefully create a much larger event production budget for the community. Our intent here is to scale up the production of this event and create a new future for this event. And that is going to be a public-private partnership, with your commitment, bold commitment, and our, taking a leap of faith and risking liability here. We really do believe we can do this together and find a new frontier for this. Oh, let's go the other way. So the scope of services we plan on offering as an agency to the city of Indio is outlined here. Kind of in order to some extent, we plan on taking on the brand and identity of the show. We've had some dialogue with the marketing team here at the city of Indio on some of the groundwork they've already done. We plan to take that a little bit further and include the voice of the community in that process. We plan to rethink a little bit about the programming and the experience of the festival itself, from some of the traditions that have started and grown to where we think we can take things into the future. We plan on new ideas for marketing. I told you concepts around telling stories of local creators through this process and creating platforms for them to continue growing in. We plan on producing a professional world-class event production similar to anything else seen here in Indio. And we plan on generating new revenue strategy, which will finance and fuel this experience. Brand and identity. Our goal here is to create a new voice that reflects local values, that highlights diverse and inclusive audiences. Some of this exercise is a creative exercise where we'll take on mood boards, logos, colors, iconography. These are very early exercises in that experience. We hope to further refine that. And we will develop an identity guideline for this show to ride through the duration of our engagement, or for you to continue on as you wish into the future. Something that we do focus on is digital media at our agency. So we'll be creating a new slate of web, app, or email communications that will coincide with the experience and create a communication channel with the fans. And a lot of that is strategies that I developed as the director of digital over at Coachella, and things that we've deployed very successfully with even emergency services. So that will be one of our first exercises. When I started talking to community members about needs and wants and expectations of the festival, I heard a lot of experience. They wanted an identity to this show that wasn't there before. And with that in mind, we thought about how can we embrace traditions from the communities that are here? How can we make this bold and vibrant in a time that is generally snowy or cold or holiday-like? And how do we get creative and crafty? Everything you see here on this lookbook and mood, a lot of this is crafts, a lot of this is paint colors, just really getting, our hands dirty with thinking very, very crafty. We don't want to bring a lot of polish and LED screens and things to this experience. It's a community experience. We want it to feel homely and rooted in the cultures that are represented here. And we think we can bring some of that decor and identity back to this experience with art installations, photo opportunities, encouraging our brand partners to create and build onto the experience. Programming and experience. Our goal from the start will be to create multi-generational entertainment, whether it's music or some of the newer ideas that we have. We recognize that there's many multi-generational families here, and this is a family event, and everyone wants to be represented in the programming of that. So that's the intention in which we'll bring programming. We intend to celebrate the heritage of the festival by keeping old favorites like the carnival games, the tamale eating contest, maybe even enhance those and take those a little bit further. We plan on bringing cross-cultural talent, Spanish speaking, Spanglish, English speaking, all on the same bill to reflect the diversity of this community. We plan on even adding some ticketed experiences after the event so that the youth can continue their programming into the evening. And we'll talk about that. So some of our ideas, early and conceptual, about how we would lay out our Tamale Festival collectively here are represented in the map here. We plan on aligning a lot of the experience along Smyr Street. Obviously, this is will be further refined in a production exercise, but we intend to have 2 large music stages. You see the Indio stage there and Viva stage down at the bottom near Indio Boulevard. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We have some experiential things from the Michelada Rumble, the Carros Bailando and Carnival and Mercado that are sort of fresh takes on some traditional ideas here. But this is a concept of how we would like to lay out the event. I think there's opportunity in all this space for all the traditional vendors, new vendors, and the community programming that you guys have traditionally programmed in past. And we're committed to serving that still. Indio stage is what we envision as our biggest stage for this free event for the community. The festival down the street on the polo fields has a Coachella stage, so I thought it was only right to have an Indio stage here in Indio. And this is where we plan on very diverse programming, some of our bigger touring acts. We intend on a full stage. We even have budgeted a live stream operation so we can continue sharing this opportunity to broader audiences. And we plan on cutting down some of the lines across the Tamale Fest. It's been nice to actually visit the Tamale Fest on invite from our friends here at the city. And the first thing I noticed was a lot of lines. So my hope is to reduce that volume and make the show a little bit more comfortable for everybody. But Indio stage would be our big one. Another concept we had is the Viva stage. This would be booked by Rene Contreras, who's a known quantity here in the city. He produces Chella Festival in between the Coachellas. It's the community show that happens at the at the fairgrounds. Rene produces his own festivals. He also books the Sonora stage at Coachella itself, and he will bring a very youthful and cross-cultural talent booking strategy. And we also intend our local curators to book local bands. We intend on having over half of the talent at the festival represented from youth here in the city of Indio. Newer concept that we'd like to introduce is idea of Carros Bailando. The idea of this is a dance area, a DJ-driven dance area that would be flanked by beautiful lowriders and car community here in the East Valley, and to create an experiential scene that's not so focused on a music stage, but something that people can take photos around, live and thrive in, an opportunity for the dance community to show off their dances, whether it's breakdancing or traditional or dance teams. We really think that this will be a fun programming space where it'll be very visceral and really focused on rhythm. So that's a fun idea that we would like to bring to the table. Another idea is this concept we call Michelada Rumble. This is actually a producer that produces at the Santa Ana Raceway, and we've been in talks with them. They do this amazing luchador wrestling tournament, in addition to curated micheladas of every sign, and they're just like fantastical, these micheladas. So, combining those concepts concepts together. The idea of, really diverse family programming, whether it's, wrestling or dancing or performers on stage. We just wanted to shake it up a little bit. One place that we think will bring a lot of elevated experience is introducing Best Beverage, which is our, preferred concessionaire partner. They have an office here in Indio at Empire Polo, where they staff all their desert operations. They keep and store all this beautiful facade and facility here in Indio. The idea here would be they would directly manage all the vendors that are serving and selling at the festival, facilitate and accommodate them, and upscale some of the food and beverage operations, whether that's craft cocktails that are dispensed through draft systems, adding facades and uniform signage across the festival site so it's not so carnival-like, and even introducing high volume vendors that we use at other festivals to help cut those lines. When people are hungry, they just want food, and we want to serve that to them as fast as efficiently as possible. So those are some of the ideas that we'll be bringing to the table with our partner, Best Beverage. El Mercado was an idea, we didn't want to do a traditional merch tent or whatever for this event. We know that there's a lot of handcraft vendors and craft vendors in the community. This is going to be an opportunity for us to create an experiential area, find selected handcraft vendors, bring them into that, and then even create opportunities where local artists can create their own merchandise exclusive to the Tamale Festival, offered at the festival exclusively. Again, creating those opportunities across food or art or beverage, where we can tell those stories of our local creatives and give them a platform to hopefully take a next step in their careers. We talked about old favorites. There's going to be lots of tamales, but also thinking about bringing back carnival games. We plan on talking to all the lead tamale vendors and hearing out their frictions and facilitating them into the new production effort. We love the idea of the Guinness attempts and the sort of PR aspects that we can drive up here, and we intend to programming that back into the marketing apparatus. Some ticketed events, for the folks that want to go longer, maybe Friday or Saturday night, we'd love to do some ticketed events here at the IPAC. It'll be an amazing way to introduce more locals onto the touring bill and create a more visceral package when we market this experience collectively. The carnival, all these rides you see here are actually from our carnival vendor at events, festivals we've produced prior. The idea here is less is more. There was many carnival rides at the festival that passed. We'd like to focus on the big experiences that create a beautiful visual landscape and have a lot of repeat rideability. So the idea is here is to really focus on an experience that really adds to the visual landscape and creates a stunning, photo or two in this whole experience. Maybe we can rethink how people access this ride, whether it's a per ticket basis or an unlimited ride ticket, and those are concepts in our revenue strategy as well. Community partners, we talked about staffing local coordinators that will help us keep from anything from local businesses to food and beverage operations involved into the experience. There's a lot of businesses right here in downtown that will be impacted by the footprint of the event, and all of them deserve an opportunity to take advantage of that foot traffic. In the past, we've done quite a bit of work with many of these organizations, including AmpCamp, and we intend to have them involved into the future of this event for years to come. Marketing strategy, looking at the budgets of years past, there wasn't a whole lot of marketing going into this event, but we intend to really start locally, drive in markets to bring folks back into this experience, show them that there's a new look and experience on the table, and then we'll grow that year over year into regional markets and hopefully national markets with the media that we collect through this experience. Some of those strategies, ad buy-in on local radio and social, the PR activations like Guinness, like we talked about, really content strategy, again, socials and channels, really telling stories, that's gonna really be my focus, telling stories of the community. This is a great vessel for that. And then also we had mentioned, live streaming and finding amplification marketing partners that will help us roll this experience out to a broader audience. Digital assets, these are all products and assets for events that we've produced before, from websites to apps. We manage, produce, and deploy the creative, everything from managing an info at email box, forms for vendors, on-premise communication, either by SMS, text, or app, and the website that will give people opportunities to either RSVP or learn about the event. We intend on producing a full slate of media to support this event. Production services, this is the boring stuff, but we plan on AutoCADing the entire festival site. What that gives us is architectural granularity on the event production, allowing us to be very efficient on how we're spending this budget, from ordering bike racks to fence lines to accommodating people for their needs for space or seating or ADA. These maps, these AutoCAD maps for events, are really the cornerstone of how we produce a professional event. And we intend to map out the entire footprint this year, do our exercises, and it'll be an asset for years to come for the city of Indio. Beyond that, we'll be working on a production roadmap as soon as we can get started here, where we'll be reforecasting the budget based on these sort of layouts, the needs and wants here, and sort of create a creative timeline of our deployment of the production efforts. We'll be introducing simple systems like credential systems to make sure everyone is where they need to be or isn't where they don't need to be. We know this is a free event, but it definitely it offers us some command and security on who needs to be where, from VIP to artists to working staff. And then also running fulfillment operations like a box office for anyone who needs access. So everyone's not running around chasing people with wristbands in their pocket. We would manage customer service as well in the experience. Revenue strategy. Sponsorship, we had mentioned, is a big calling card. We're predicating the growth of this collective budget for the event on growth in our sponsorship revenue. Some of the ideas we intend on deploying for sponsorship is aligning sponsors with experiential activations. So a sponsor against a stage, a sponsor against the dance area, or the Michelada Rumble, where they have a larger share of voice and they can contribute to the experience intrinsically. So not the old way of bunch of logos on a banner. Everyone has their space, and hopefully this is a strategy in which we will get more revenues from the sponsors to fuel this event. These are some of the partners we've worked with in the past, and we're currently on tour with Deep Eddy Vodka. So we know that there's many community partners that have supported this event for years, and we intend on servicing those partners and making sure they have priority access to the experience. Best Beverage Catering, some of the things that they'll be bringing to the table that are new. Service systems, that's why we had talked about speed of service. How are we incorporating line busting techniques for concessions? How are we incorporating local partners into high volume situations and supporting them and training them? Implementing a point of sale system that is uniform across all vendors. One, that will help us take credit card at the point of sale rather than running off to ATMs. And two, it will give us a little bit of insight onto the volume of service that's being doled out of these vendors. And one thing I've noticed in my exploration of this event, data points. We need many, many more data points on this event. And so our intention is to implement systems methodically over a year or 2 or 3 as we can to start collecting that data. It will only reinforce our sponsorship efforts, our ability to create an efficient operation, and be able to staff accurately for these events as well. Other value that we get from Best Beverage Catering are physical bar assets, where we can upscale sort of the look and feel of this event. And they hire locally, and they have experience bringing in local groups to help service and fundraise for themselves. So this is all a big value from our friends of Best Beverage. Although this says a 20% increase in gross sales is their typical modus operandi. After looking at the revenues of this event historically, we are committing and projecting 100% increase in revenues to your concessions operation. In the past, your concession operation was wholly predicated on vendor fees. We will be doing a mix of concessions through beer gardens, and we will be doing a mix of revenue shares against some of the high volume vendors. And this will create a new stream of revenue to help increase this event. Some of the experience of Bottle Rock. I was just with these guys in Montana and Whitefish yesterday, town of 9,000 people. We had 25,000 people there a day for 3 days. It was it was our first show back, so we've been excited. Another idea that we thought would be really relevant to this event, you can call them VIP, but just seating areas for families to enjoy together this experience, being able to reserve a table, have food service to that table, beverage service to that table, and a place where people can call home instead of sort of meandering through the experience. This is something that we think, one, we can generate some revenue off of. Two, we just think it's going to be a better experience for those that take advantage of it. So that, I would hate to call it a VIP, more table reservations, but this is a place where I think we can build a little culture around families seating with us through the course of the experience. Timeline. First few months here, we would dedicate to brand identity, marketing, curation, booking. We would start some production exercises, mostly road mapping, what vendors we're using, what stages we're using, the whole nine. As we get into September, December, we're going to get more into an executionary phase, particularly at continuing to roll out marketing, but also executing on staffing and production. We're open to ideas, but it's a free event, so we're open to announcing November 1 for a month of marketing into our early December timeline for the event. So that's kind of the roundabout way we're thinking about approaching this from a timing perspective. We're completely confident we can produce at this scale within that timeline. Some of our vision for this event, and maybe more to the question of why a one-year contract doesn't fit the bill for us. In all my experience in producing events take about 3 years to mature. We're going to learn some things this first time around, and we're going to react to those. And my job is a failure if we're not reacting to those things. So that's why a 3-year contract will really let us hone this in year over year. Not to mention, it'll allow us to sign multi-year agreements with our sponsor partners. We don't want to resell all these categories every year. We want to sign the right ones up into a multi-year, focus on categories we didn't sell in the year coming, sign those guys up into multi-years. So that is really going to help increase the potential of this event and really allow us to invest as aggressively as we can into this experience. I know there's a bold offer here in what the city is contributing to the event, but the event production is actually twice that budget. And that's where me and my team are committing to find the revenue through the private spaces to fuel the growth of this show. So we're gonna keep it local and think local about marketing. We're gonna refine, try some of these new ideas in year 1. In year 2, we're gonna focus on bringing in more drive-in market here. And in year 3, hopefully we have some revenue and some media profile to get back on the map. A little bit about my team. I'm the founder and executive producer. Matt here is our executive producer. He comes from Live Nation, managed the Palladium for a very long time. Mike Kennedy, my partner, he leads our sponsorship and brand partnerships. Rene Contreras, we talked about, will be booking the talent. Cameron Carbone will be our day-to-day festival project manager. He's been with Golden Voice for 5 years, and now he's with me. And Kevin McDermott will be watching our numbers and being transparent along the way. Some of our clients that have trusted us with their experiences kind of run the gamut from event producers to brand partners to technology providers in the event space. And I do feel like me and my team are the right folks for this job. I am confident in that. I'm committed to inspiring the youth and the community here for years to come. And I would really appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. My goodness. So I think before I open this to my fellow council members, I know that we have public comments. So let's do that first, if that's okay.
Yes, Mayor, we have Karen Borja on the line. Karen, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Karen. I'm a resident of Miles Avenue. My request is that you actually table this item and open an RFP process that will be transparent and obtain a better deal than the vague and over budgeted presentation you just heard. Not once did we actually hear numbers of staff that would be hired, bathrooms that would be contracted, number of carnival rides. We did not hear any actual figures, nor is a proposal that is attached to your agenda cognizant of any actual figures attached to the budget. The standard in Indio should not be if you get prosecuted or if you do not by not having an RFP process. The standard in Indio should be for the people of Indio. Not only is this, staff is picking and choosing. This is a disservice when projects in the city do not go through a formal request for proposals that allow competition and allow the residents to see what's going on. How is our tax dollars being spent? What are we getting for the amount of money that we're putting in your hands to disseminate to bring events such as a Tamal Festival? Thank you.
Next speaker is Skip. Skip, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, everybody. This is Skip Page. I know most of you know me already as I was the previous Chief Operating Officer of Golden Voice for 20 years after retiring in 2017. I want to just let you know that Gopi I have known for many years and is a stellar operator. He was one of the most valuable people we had on staff at Golden Voice. He created so many of the things that you see at the festival currently, and there is nobody better to handle this job than Gopi. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip.
Next speaker is Serik Nieto. You have 3 minutes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hello again, City Council and of the City of Indio, Chief of Police and Fowler members of the community. 2 topics I would like to discuss. We're not going to details in general, but I would like to bring up the Tamale Festival. Being a tradition for this community since I remember, from volunteering to having a booth, to working the booth, to walking the beautiful streets of downtown. I won't discuss, but I did not hear at any point in that wonderful presentation about the Tamale Festival Parade. I didn't hear nothing about it. For the last couple of years, it has vanished from the city of Indio. I have no idea why, but I'm very disappointed. We elect council members into office that discuss festivals in this town. I'm very disappointed in the people that are sitting in the chambers today. One other topic I would like to discuss is the Indio Police Department. If you guys realize, we've been under fire with the Indio Police Department for many years. I can
Sir,
say,
this item is only for the item before us, which is the CUS agreement.
Mr. Nieto.
that's it. You guys have a good day.
Thank you. That is all I have for public comment, Mayor.
Thank you. Please, come on down. I'm looking forward to hearing the comments from my fellow council members. The presentation was outstanding. It really touched on some very key points, but before I give my opinions on it, let me open it up to my team. Who would like to speak? Go right ahead. Mayor Pro Tem, it's all yours. Jump in.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman's always ready. First of all, thank you, Mr. Trujillo, for the hard work in this. And also thank you, Gus, for your presentation. It's an unorthodox year dealing with COVID and timelines, but I'm a very big advocate of the Tamale Festival. I'm a very big advocate of the city of Indio, and I'm a very big advocate of our culture and heritage here. And my comments are no reflection on the presentation, no reflection of CUP agency. It's a great presentation, a lot of potential there. But from boards, councils, and partnerships that we have in the community, we're constantly advocating for our young adults and youth to go off to college and come back to our city where we could give them jobs and work. And at this moment, we do have many young adults who missed out on an opportunity with this Tamale Festival. Now, I understand it's an unorthodox year and we didn't go out for a request for proposal. I understand that if folks in the community are upset about that. Nonetheless, I think we missed the opportunity to work with some of our local promoters and artists here in our city and valley who could also put this festival on, who have a proven track record as well. Now, timeline wise, we don't have a timeline. We've had to maneuver and adapt to the situation that we have now. A lot of dates change. We have early December historical time where we have Tamale Festival here in the city of Indio. It doesn't have to be at that time. It could be 30 days later. So with that being said, after my fellow council members speak and the mayor, I'd like this to come back and go back out for RFP. And if we have to move the Tamale Festival to the beginning of the new year, I'm okay with that if time doesn't permit. But I just think it was a missed opportunity for some of our local folks to take this venture on and really come back and pay homage to our folks who started the Tamale Festival. Right now, we have a generation of folks who may not know the history of the Tamale Festival, and I'd like to provide that to them. I know there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes with putting these proposals together, our staff reports together, and especially right now with short staff. But I'd like to see this come back. That conclude my comments, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone else wish to comment? Councilmember Amit or?
Yes, I would. Thank you. The Tamal Festival historically has been the first Saturday in December because it's a significant time in our culture. It signifies the beginning of the seasons. So it wouldn't really make sense to postpone the festival till after the season. I believe that we did engage local agencies to propose on this opportunity. Granted, it didn't go out to a broader audience, but we're having a public hearing today, and that opportunity will exist in 3 years. Although we're considering a 3-year agreement with CUSP tonight, before we can renew the contract, we would have to, or we could consider going out to RFP just to give a broader audience the opportunity. But in that time frame, we'll also be able to see the success of the festival over the 3 years. We had a similar conversation when we considered the previous producer of the Tamale Festival. And the challenge is when we went out to RFP, we had 0 responses other than his. So in a way, we were cornered into continuing our arrangement with an agency that we didn't really feel was giving us our ROI. So in short, what I'm saying is that there really is no way to postpone this event. We're at the end of the wire now. In order for someone to successfully put off the event, we needed them to start now. I wouldn't mind sending out a formal RFP in 3 years' time, just to give a broader audience an opportunity to pitch their proposals. But, this CUSP company will be able to come up with some good data points in those 3 years, and they'll be able to show us their successes, and we'll be able to evaluate them on the ROI. So I think this is something that we need to consider and move forward with this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Amit. Does anyone else wish to speak?
I understand the process that had to go through because of the rush, right? Because of COVID, that we couldn't go through the RFP process. But I do think that if we're not going through that RFP process and not opening it up to other community members, then it should be a 1-year contract. And I understand the difficulties that presents, but we also understand that we gave some benefits to the producer as well, right? The lack of competition for the contract. And I also had a few other concerns, mainly the price tag, right? The last time we paid the producer $50,000, and now we're going up to $200,000 plus the percentages added on top of that. Whereas before there were no percentages there. So I think that's a pretty high price tag to consider. So I do think we need to continue some negotiations there. Other concerns that I have are some of the revenue splits that are considered here. I'm not sure how our local vendors feel about that, right? And it says, up to 1/3 of revenues would be collected. And I'm a vendor at some points, right? And I wouldn't take that deal, right? So I want to make sure that we're talking to our local vendors and making sure that that's even a viable proposition for them. Other concerns, bringing in more vendors that aren't local to reduce those lines. I think we have to find other ways of reducing those lines, right? And we'd have plenty of, especially now, right, with all these small businesses that have sprouted up in our community. I think we could fill, looking at that, how can we fill those with local business? I believe, and this is a question, we used to give the profits from the beer gardens, didn't they used to go to nonprofits or some kind of youth programs?
Yes, that is correct. And we were already approached by Shadow Hills Band Boosters, and we relayed that to CUSP agency, and they are willing to bring them on board, so that way they don't lose out on that on that revenue.
And they would be going with BBC?
Yeah, so they
through BBC.
Correct.
Okay. And that's my main concerns for this. I would support it as a 1-year project. I wouldn't support it as a 3-year project, only because of the process that we've gone through to get the contract.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank you for your presentation. Very enlightening, very exciting. We've watched this Tamale Festival flounder for years under the leadership that we had. Not that they couldn't done a good job, but just basically the way it turned out to be T-shirts and and different kinds of stuff away from what it was really supposed to be, a cultural event, not only to celebrate the history of India, but also celebrate the culture as a whole. From the Tamale Festival, which was the main part of it, and that was done by some local individuals. I think Mr. Hernandez, David Hernandez, and some others that helped start it. But this is an opportunity like we did with the concerts. The first years of the concerts lost a fortune. Golden Voice lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, lost everything they owned doing it to get it right. It's not representative, I think, to allow a person to have a one-year contract, hope they make it or break it, put in all the money you can and hope it does. You've got to build those connections just like anything else. You got to build reputation. This gives us an opportunity with he's producing, if he can bring forward what he is, working with our staff, with Mr. Curtis, Mr. Trujillo and others, to make sure we fine tune, to make sure our local vendors, businesses, community, nonprofits get an opportunity to work with them, but at the same time, bring in professional talent that also can help train or help support some of the other talent that comes in. These young producers need to learn from somebody like this gentleman here on how to produce a concert. I'm not willing to give our Tamale Festival to the biggest open bid for low bid. It should be, if we're going to do anything, it'd be RFQ for qualifications, not price. Because price, we can get anything. It's what we want to produce and what kind of quality. How do we bring the community together? How we bring it in? And that's what he's trying to bring forward. Better acts, opportunities. I kept hearing about our local residents that are bands and other businesses coming in. It's exactly what we want. But at the same time, we want them to be able to utilize a stage that's professional. And he's asking and talking about bringing in professional performances, professional events. And we're talking about nightlife at the downtown. IPAC, which is a property of ours, utilizing that's underused. Maybe people that go into it now will say, hey, look, maybe we can produce some other movie events, concerts, whatever, art shows going in there. It gives us an opportunity to highlight downtown and then hopefully then to sell it to other businesses to come in and fill up the spaces we have. You got to have something to bring something to the table. He's bringing something to the table. I think it's refreshing. I think we give him a 3-year deal to bring it forward and have him work with our community to bring in what we would like. And at the same time, give him free reign to do what he has to do to bring in a top quality act. I think it's refreshing. I appreciate all the work you did, Mr. Trio, on this. And I think that let's let the pros do this and see what we can do. My comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I actually concur. The Tamale Festival exists the first part of December because, as anyone knows, and anyone that's been around the community knows, that in December, La Posada, that's a particular point in time, and there are just millions of tamales that go out. It is the season for tamales. Hence, I really believe firmly that we need to keep the Tamale Festival at that particular time. Everybody knows from everywhere, from LA, from San Diego, from points east and west, that the Tamale Festival is on the first weekend of December. I thought the presentation was highly professional. We talk about wanting to raise the bar, the extent to which we can bring on that level of professionalism and experience really speaks to Indio's desire to provide world-class events to its local community. And CUSP has entered into or discussed bringing in local businesses as needed or as necessary or as much as possible in all of this, because that's part of it. I mean, that's what happens at Coachella, right? Huge professional, but what do you see there? You see locals working, locals behind selling pizza, locals as vendors in every single corner. And that's what CUSP is suggesting. They bring a wealth of knowledge and experience that I would like to entertain. I am ready and prepared to sign into a 3-year agreement with them and to move this event up and forward.
With that, Mayor, I'd like to make the motion to approve the professional service agreement with CUSP Agency, LLC, in the not to exceed amount of $200,037.50 for event management services for the International Tamale Festival with budget adjustments.
And is your motion also that it's 3 years and that amount is listed there as a yearly amount, not to exceed?
Right, but the proposal is 3 years.
Thank you.
Right.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Amit and a second by Councilmember Miller. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
I'll abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman,
Nay.
and Mayor Holmes. Yes, Mayor Holmes.
Aye. Motion passes. One abstention. It passes 3-1 with one abstention. Thank you very much. I look forward to watching this evolve. It is 20 minutes after 7. If I may call for a 5-minute break, I would be most appreciative. Let's come back at about 25 or so after 7.
That's hilarious. The tamale factory, tamale festival wiped them out so much they had to take a break. Believe it or not, it was a controversial vote.
Oh, really?
Okay, everyone, I'd like to re-adjourn the meeting. Is everybody present and accounted for? Miss Amit, Councilmember Amit? There she is. Okay. And it is 7:31 almost, and the meeting is resuming. I'd like to go on to item 11B, resolution number 10229, calling and giving notice of the holding of a special municipal election to be held on November 2nd, 2021, placing a measure on the ballot entitled the City of Indio No Tax Increase Safety Essential City Services Protection Measure to extend the existing transaction and use sales tax known as Measure X, requesting the city attorney to prepare an impartial analysis and establishing requirements for ballot arguments and rebuttals, and resolution number 10230, requesting the County of Riverside Board of Supervisors to consolidate a special municipal election to be held on November 2nd, 2021, with the election to be held on the date pursuant to section 10403 of the Elections Code. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I reveled previously the fact that we've been surveying residents to make sure we have a good understanding of the needs, the wants, the desires. I want to announce formally to the council and to them that we listened. We heard what is important. We heard what areas of the city functions are of the greatest concern. Similar to what you did back in 2016, wisely looking at the needs, primarily as it relates to public safety, to making sure that our voters continue to have a voice for their own safety as it relates to equipment, vehicles, staffing for police, fire, paramedics, 911 dispatchers. So we listened, and we're grateful that we heard that the voters in Indio want to make sure that those interests that are of the greatest concern to them are continue to have funding, and that funding, and very important, I want to make sure we emphasize that funding is not taken by other public agencies. So the wise move that you took as a city council and that the voters approved in 2016 to make sure to secure local funding for these high priorities, it happened. It was overwhelmingly supported. The measure that would be on the ballot, if so approved, would give the voters the opportunity to only end that funding, Measure X funding, at their choosing, not on any arbitrary date. So what's presented to you, as the mayor just read, it's a no tax increase extension of Measure X. There are two resolutions within the staff report, one that has the exact ballot language, and important that we keep that exact ballot language because that's the language we polled the voters on, that we asked them if they'd be willing to support. And then the second resolution, which needs to be timely acted upon, is to request the county elections with whom we contract for elections to place this matter on the ballot for November. And the deadline there is August 6th. So you see how this agenda item is timely. Maybe before I turn over any questions that may exist, just thanking the city attorney, assistant city manager, and finance director, as well as the deputy city manager and others on the team that have been working to evaluate whether this extension is the right time or not. And clearly the voters have spoken, we've listened. They want that control. They want to be able to decide on these high priority issues. And I mentioned what they were, and there are others, including the need to address potholes and street improvements, the interchanges, the bridges over the interstate, water quality. These rose to the top as we surveyed and asked the residents, what is important to you? I also want to echo as a newcomer as a newcomer to see what Measure X has accomplished since 2016. It is an outstanding success. And again, as we ask the voters about that success, are they pleased with it? And they are. So I think the timing is right. I think these resolutions would set forth and give the voters continued opportunity to play that role in deciding these priorities. This isn't just your decision. In fact, what you're deciding, if you so vote this evening, is to give them the choice. What a great opportunity to make sure that they continue to have the voice. This will not be a decision made by the city council. The only decision we're asking you to make this evening is to give the voters the opportunity to decide. So with that, Mayor, happy to answer any questions. We do recommend approval of both resolutions this evening so that we can in a timely manner, put the matter on the ballot.
Thank you very much. Let's see here, 11B. Do I have any public comments? Yes, I do. City Clerk, I believe we have two online comments for 11B.
Yes, Mayor, we have Karen Borja on the line. Karen, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, again, Karen Borja, resident of Miles Avenue. Residents of Indio have already given the city coffers 5 years of Measure X taxes. When we voted in 2016, we voted for this tax to sunset in 20 years. What staff is proposing today is not an extension as noted in the agenda packet. It is actually a permanent tax and should be shared with the public in a transparent way that you are asking us to permanently tax ourselves on something we had voted to only have a 20-year lifespan. Jose Lizarragas died in custody of Indio Police Department. How can you today recommend this permanent tax measure be given to give more money to a police department that is under investigation? We are still in the crisis of the pandemic, but we are in a housing and economic crisis as well. Not only would you be tone deaf to extend taxes to be permanent on Indio residents this year, but your actions would be a direct attack on the residents of Indio hardest hit in this past year. And I hate that the city manager says that you've listened to residents talk about this tax when you have not listened to residents when it comes to budget propositions and budget proposals. How often have we come to ask you to lower police and public safety funds and actually fund things like our public for public community gatherings where doors are not locked? How often have we asked you to create things as simple as crosswalks on my street, on Miles Avenue, so kids can get across from one side of Miles to the other to get to school? You do not listen to our budget priorities now. You can guarantee that I will be in strong opposition if you vote today for this ballot to pass, and I will all across the city of Indio to also vote against a permanent tax on Measure X when you have yet to listen to our request on any budget items that are not police and fire.
Okay, do we have another?
Karen?
Yes, I'm done. Sorry, John.
Oh, thank you. And that is all I have for this item, Mayor.
You don't have another speaker. You don't have another list?
Jonathan Becerra? He's not on.
Okay.
No.
And if I may, just to respectfully explain that this is not a permanent tax. The ballot language, as you have read it and reviewed it, and as any resident will be able to see, gives the voters at any time can end this tax. And this is not a decision of the city council to extend a tax. The tax is already in place. This is giving the voters the opportunity to decide when it will end. So one might term it an extension, but again, the voters are the ones that will decide that, and they will be able, under the ballot measures presented, to end it at any time.
Thank you, City Manager. Are there any comments by the council, or do I hear a motion?
I have a question.
I'm happy to make a motion, but I mean, I'm not big on taxes, as most people know, but this tax has helped us to move the city forward.
That's right.
And it's a tax that has been used for one-time investments. It's something that we're looking at. We have over $100 million worth of bridge projects alone that people are screaming for on Monroe Street and Jackson and possibly Gulf Center. We have road pavements, we have sidewalks, we have parks. We're talking about a super park, we have the campus, we have a library. We have all these needs that the community wants. There is not enough funding in our regular local budget to be able to provide even our share of some of these things through CBAG, unless we're able to continue to move this measure forward. So a city of our size, unfortunately, isn't having the tax revenue of some of the other cities. We didn't get a major share of some of the ARCA money, but we did get a good share. But that's just not even a down payment on the one bridge alone. And we got to continue to expand the city. We got to continue to do it. And we need to be able to bond. And unless you have a certain amount of years, you're not able to bond against that tax revenue to build stuff now. And if we don't build our police station, our fire stations, our roads, our bridges, they're $100 million. Now let's say in 15 years, they're going to be $190 to $250 million. So we need to be able to bond, do the work we need to do. Unfortunately, we're going to have to be able to pass this measure for a little bit longer period of time to utilize it. But at the same time, it's a vote of the residents. It's not us as a city council voting to tax a residents. We're asking them, would you like to continue to invest back in your community by making sure this measure continues past so we can bond? I think it's a good, wise investment for us. I think it's something we need to do. And unless we're doing it, the community can look towards not being able to get some of the goals that they expect to get done.
Absolutely, Councilmember Miller, I concur. Just looking at the magnitude of the number of roads that we have improved in all of our neighborhoods, even the poorest neighborhoods now have curbs and gutters and streets by and large. Looking at the Monroe interchange and the Jackson interchange and the need to relieve that congestion, looking at our police and fire facilities, which are, I think, over 60 years old. And at some point, there are skills of efficiency that need to occur so that we can provide that level of service. I know there's a lot of folks in North Indio that want that sports park, which is many, many, many millions of dollars. So this merely puts it on the ballot so that our community can vote on it and make that decision. Does anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, just wanted to echo the concerns of the infrastructure projects and the bonding that's needed and the extended revenue sources that are needed for that bonding for our infrastructure projects. The roads, people all over the city, are from the community. I hear all the time how much better our roads are since this measure has passed. So I do think that's important as well. And another thing, I'm going to be definitely pushing for our public works department to be getting. I know last Thursday when we had our special meeting, we talked about our strategic planning. We talked about the need for our parks to have sufficient funding to keep maintained well. And we realized that we would need about another $1 million a year. And so my hopes are that we can eventually dedicate $1 million extra of funding from this Measure X to our parks through our Public Works Department. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I think everybody said a lot and everything was correct that was said. And I think a lot of folks have to realize some of these services that we're talking about, like police and fire, you don't realize how important they are until you need them. And I talked about our fire, some of the things that they've been dealing with recently, been very, very busy. And if they don't have a sufficient ladder truck or ambulance vehicle to support our residents, that could be a major problem. We look at body worn cameras with our police departments. That's a big issue, not only in our department, but in our country. We want integrity, we want honesty and accountability. And also training. We want body cams. They come at a price, and I do support that. We look at our infrastructure, our roads. I have to give our Public Works Department a lot of credit. We throw a lot at them. I'm constantly texting and calling. I have a pothole here. Can we get some sidewalks over here? Or a sidewalk repaired? And some way, somehow, it gets done. But that's funded by our people, Measure X. Old North Indio, for a long time, that was a gripe with me. And Avenue 44 has sidewalks. The road has been redone. Sola, Lupine, Emerald, Tourmaline, LED lights, road signs, gutter, sidewalks. That's big, and it's a big improvement, and that does something to a community when you invest in them. During our strategic meeting last week, we talked about will we walk down any street in Indio. I have challenges with some of our streets, but when we work on our infrastructure, people begin to have pride in themselves, and it starts with the funding. Unfortunately, sometimes it's funding, but fortunately for Measure X, our people have voted for this. And I think it's the right thing to do. We look at the fiber master plan. That's big. That's big in our world now. That's big in aiding in digital divide in our community. And that's something we support. Our public safety campus. I'm at our police department a lot, more than most probably sometimes. I won't talk about in public the things and challenges that they have to deal with. But when that department was built, Indio didn't have 90,000 people and a large police department like we do now. Public safety campus is well needed. Our firefighters in Station 86, if you don't know them, get to know them. Good guys. They'll be happy to take you on a tour of their facility. And I'm not happy with it. And I'm pretty sure our public wouldn't be. So this is an opportunity for our public to vote on this. It's not the council. We're just voting to put this on the ballot. And I hope our community really looks at this staff report and understand the importance of it. That concludes my comments, Madam.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Ahmed, any comments?
No, I don't have any comments. Thank you, Mayor.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution number 10229, calling of a special municipal election to be held on November 2nd, 2021, placing a measure on the ballot to extend the existing transactions and use sales tax known as Measure X, and resolution 10230, requesting the County of Riverside Board of Supervisors to consolidate the special municipal election on November 2nd, 2021, with the election being held the same day.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Furman. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman.
Aye.
And Mayor Holmes.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, City Manager and staff, for all the hard work putting this on here. Okay, we're now going to go into public hearings, and there's going to be a challenge. So item number 12, we'll start with item number A. However, item B, the Ventana, is going to move to the end, if you don't mind, please. And so we'll go A, C, D, and save the best for last, as they say, item number B. So having said that, item 12A, resolution number 10222, approving tentative parcel map number 38143, TPM 21-02-410, to subdivide a parcel of land into 4 single-family residential parcels, a common lot, open space, a private street, and a remainder lot acquired by the Coachella Valley Water District, finding the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of City Council. My name is Kevin Snyder. I'm your Director of Community Development. This evening, Leila Nambar, Senior Planner, will be providing the staff report and answering any questions that the council might have. So at this time, I'd like to ask her to step forward and give you the staff report. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the members of the City Council. Leila Nambar, Senior Planner. The item before you here is a tentative parcel map number 38143. All right, so the project is located north of Avenue 39 between Jefferson Street and Adams Street, as you see this red area. It's approximately 10 acres. The applicant is subdividing this property into 4 parcels. As you can see here, parcel 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are between the area of each parcel is between less than an acre to up to 3 acres. This triangular here is the remaining lot, which will be sold to the CVWD for their use. The zoning for the property is EE, which allows 2 units per acre. However, the general plan is Desert State neighborhood, and it allows up to 1 units per acre. At this point, the applicant is proposing to use half of that density. With that, the staff recommends council approves resolution 10222. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, and I believe the applicant is either here or online, so he can answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I open the public hearing, does anyone have any questions of staff? Okay, I hereby open the public hearing. Are there any questions? Anyone wish to speak?
It looks like the applicant is not on the Zoom.
Okay, I see no one wish to speak. At this point, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
I'll up resolution number 10222, approving tentative parcel map number 38143, TMP 21-02-410 to subdivide a parcel of land into 4 single-family residential parcels, a common lot, open space, a private street, and a remainder lot acquired by the Coachella Valley Water District, and finding the project exempt from California Environmental Quality Act.
Second that motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem, a second by Councilmember Miller. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit.
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman.
Aye.
And Mayor Holmes.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Now we're going to jump down to 12C, resolution number 10223, approving engineer's annual levy report for the landscape and lighting districts number 01 through 22, 24 through 29, and 31 through 54 for fiscal year 2021, 2022. And resolution number 10224, ordering the levy and collection of assessments within the 52 landscape and lighting districts for fiscal year 2021, 2022. Mr. Wassel.
And thank you, Madam Mayor. Tim Wassel, Public Works Director for the city. And this is a routine item that we bring to the City Council once a year before we approve the levy of those 52 districts. And just like the mayor stated, those are 2 resolutions. The first one, 10223, is to approve the engineer's annual report. And then the second one, 10224, is to order the levy and the collection of the assessments. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I have Paul Stalma here with me, and also the folks from Wildan who helped us prepare the engineer report for a few years in the past here. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, it's a public hearing, and we recommend the adoption of both resolutions.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of Public Works? No? No? Okay, I want to open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Going once, going twice. Public hearing is closed. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I'll motion to adopt resolution number 10223, approving engineer's annual levy report for the landscape and lighting district numbers 01-22, 24-29, and 31-54 for fiscal year 2021-22, and resolution number 10224, ordering the levy and collection of assessments within the 52 landscape and lighting districts for fiscal year 2021-22.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ortiz and a second by Councilmember Miller. May I have a vote, please? Roll call.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit.
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman.
Aye.
And Mayor Holmes.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item number D, resolution 10225, increasing solid waste charges for residential properties for residential waste for fiscal years 2021, 2022 through 2026 through 2027. And resolution number 10221, levying the annual waste charges for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. Mr. Wassel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, again. So this is another routine item that's before you for a public hearing and in conformance with Prop 218. And it is to adopt 2 resolutions. One is increasing the solid waste charges for residential waste for fiscal year 21-22. And it actually reduces the collection or the rate for the commercial. And I'll speak about that here in just a moment. And also the second resolution is for levying the annual waste. It is noteworthy to to note that our rate is pretty low, actually. It's only going up by $1.76 per month per residential for the residential rate, and it's actually going down by 95 cents to a $123.95 for the commercial for the 3-yard dumpster. But the monthly rate for the residential, this is a weekly service that our residents receive for waste, for trash, for green waste, for recycle, and pretty soon for compost as well. But what many of our residents may not know, that also actually includes picking up to 4 large items every single week. So if you need to get rid of anything that is large, you can do that weekly, up to 4 items: a refrigerator that you don't need, a water heater, a washer, a dryer, whatever you need to get rid of. Instead of cluttering your home with it, just call Bertec and they will pick it up. So I wanted to bring that up because probably many people did not know that, and it's worth noting. So with that, we do recommend the adoption of the resolutions. I also have both Ms. Sarah Toyota, our environmental coordinator here in the audience, and also Mr. Frank Orlet, who has been our partner for many years, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions currently of staff? No, okay. No questions, okay. With that, I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Does anyone wish to speak? Okay, there being no one wish to speak, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution number 10225, increasing solid waste charges for residential waste for the fiscal years 2021, 2022 through 2026, 27, and resolution number 10221, levying the annual waste charges for the fiscal year 2021, 2022.
And I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Miller and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Furman. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit.
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman.
Aye.
And Mayor Holmes.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we'd like to move on to item number B. Resolution number 10226, certifying the final environmental impact report prepared for the Ventana project pursuant to the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and adopting a mitigated monitoring and reporting program, resolution number 10227, approving the general plan amendment 20-05-120 to add a new land use designation, transitional neighborhood with a density of 0 to 3 dwelling units per acre, and a concurrent land use map amendment, ordinance number 1763, adopting Ventana specific plan 20-05-39 to establish zoning regulations and development and design standards for the project site, and resolution number 10228, approving tentative tract map number 37884 to subdivide a 45.17 acre vacant parcel located on the north side of Avenue 50 between Jefferson Street and Madison Street into 103 single-family residential lot, APN 602-070-004-1 and 602-080-001-9 and 602-080-002-0.
And before Mr. Steiner starts, City Clerk, is Ms. Ramos Amit still on? So Councilmember Amit has a conflict of interest on this item, and so that's why we reordered it. And so she will not be participating on this item. Okay.
She's been removed from the panel.
Thank you. I just want to clarify that for the record. And it's because she has a property interest within 1,000 feet. Thank you.
Go right ahead, Mr. Snyder.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of City Council. Again, my name is Kevin Snyder. I'm your Director of Community Development. This item before you this evening, as the mayor noted, is a public hearing item. I want to note for the record that this item is coming to you from your Planning Commission, who held its own separate public hearing. And at this time, I'd like to invite Leila Namvar, Senior Planner, who's been the lead planner on this, to come forward and give the council a staff presentation and give and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
So we just gonna wait a little bit till the presentation loads.
Sure.
Right. It's not mine. No, let me go. I'll be right back.
Apologies, Mayor. We have two presentations, one from staff and one from the applicant.
Yeah, mine is best. All right, good evening again. This item before you is Ventana project, which is a residential project. So the project contains several entitlements. Before you tonight is the general plan amendment, specific plan, tract map, environmental assessment or EIR. The design review was reviewed by the Planning Commission and it's approved contingent upon your approval tonight. So the site is located north of Avenue 50, as you see with the red boundary. It is east of Jefferson Street and west of Madison, as you see here, a little bit over 45 acres. You see the zoning surrounding the property, which is Country Estate Indian Ranches 1, 2, and half. The general plan amendment is proposing to change the general plan designation from DEN to TN, which means from 0 to 8 dwelling units per acre to 0 to 3 dwelling units per acre. The specific plan also will be the governing zoning for the property, which currently is CIR 1 and 2. It will be changed to a specific plan, which provides standards similar to residential law. Also, there's a tentative tract map which will divide the 45.37 acres into 103 residential lots. And as I said, design review, which was for the architecture and site circulation, was reviewed by the Planning Commission. The specific plan maximum density at this point is 2.3 units per acre. This is the current general plan designation, which is Desert State Neighborhood. The subject property is located within the southern neighborhoods of the city. Also in the general plan is in the area that we are expecting to see some changes. This is the new exhibit for the general plan. As you see, it goes from DEN Desert Neighborhood District to transitional neighborhood here. This shows the layout of the project. The yellow area is the area that will be not gated. The rest will be gated. This is more of the small lot, a smaller product. And in the back, you see two colors, blue and red. Blue is larger lots and reds are, again, smaller lots. This shows the floor plans. As you see, they're special and practical. These are, I'm going to go through these slides fast. If anybody would like me to stop, I will. This shows basically the landscape and the hardscape for the main entrance. Again, shows the area within the gate that shows the landscape. Same here, this is the park that the project proposes. Another park that the project proposes. And this also gives you, it is in the staff report, it gives you a breakdown of the areas 1, 2, and the 2 is divided to 2A and 2B with those different type of lot sizes and housing product. I'll go through these slides as fast as well. Shows the elevations. They have modern elevations and more Spanish inspired elevations as well. So again, different variation in the roof lines, variation in the facade throughout all the elevations. And this shows the materials. As you see, they have different colors in tiles. And with that, I would like to recommend the council to approve the resolutions for environmental impact report, the resolution for general plan amendment, the ordinance to adopt the specific plan, and also the resolution to approve the tentative tract map. And there's a disclaimer here, which I'm sure the city attorney can expand upon it if she wishes to. That will complete my staff report. The applicant team is here. If you have any questions for them, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Ms. Nambar? No, not at this point. Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing and ask for the applicant if you'd like to speak.
Honorable Madam Mayor Holmes, Councilman Furman, Miller and Ortiz, City Manager and staff. Mario Gonzalez on behalf of GHA Companies, Kramer Land Company, and Avenue 50 Indio LLC. Applicant and property owners, 30875 Date Palm Drive, Cathedral City, California. I must say that it feels really good to be back here. And I personally want to thank the city staff for continuing business and allowing the city to continue, and for your commitment of protecting our community and all the hardship that everyone's been enduring in these historical times. I'd like to thank Director Snyder, Public Works Department, Acting Fire Marshal Rebecca Weinscott, and Layla for her tenacity, all her consideration and time over the past 22 months. I'm joined by my partner, Brett Albick, President, and Matt Fareed, Director of Investments at Kramer Land Company. Kramer Land Company is a 120-year-old company tested over time. GHA Companies has been in business just over 40 years. Our strategic alliance brings over 100 years of experience in real estate business, including entitlement, development, construction, and management locally and abroad. Also present is our great professional team. Present is Nicole Chris, Tierra Nova Planning and Research, Chris Berg, our engineering with MDS Consulting, Art Alvarado and Ellen Scales from KTGY Architects, Chuck Shepherdson from HSA Land and Interior Design, and our attorney, Jeff Wills, specializing in environmental and CEQA matters for the past 30 years. GHA is a developer of Montage at Santa Rosa, Las Colinas, Anastasia, Aldea Jackson, and Vistas at Las Colinas, all ground up Indio developments that include approximately 475 single-family residences with all type of price points. Our interest in Ventana property began back in 2015. The property remained available and proved to be not marketable as currently zoned. And coming out of the Great Recession, the market shifted to less is more and an attitude to follow that. The Ventana property never traded, and in mid-August of 2019, after much due diligence and meetings with city leaders, city staff, fire department, neighbors, homeowners association, and being very vigilant, the lack of new quality development in South Indio, our partnership entered into escrow, and we closed on escrow December 30th of 2019. We first presented Ventana at the City Planning Department, the project consideration hearing on February 12th of 2020. Since this consideration, the Ventana development, its vision, its plans, density, and designs has not changed, but it's only gotten better. And on June 23rd of 2021, your City Planning Commission approved the project 4-1. Our project is truly an infill site, and knowing the inherent sensitivity of adjoining property owners, view corridors, the challenges of existing grades, drainage patterns, wet and dry utilities, our seasoned team has considered every measure possible to stay within the character, the quality, the values of this area, and to maintain balance with the surrounding land uses. In less than 1/2 mile radius from Ventana, there are 7 separate developments that are either greater, equal to, or under our proposed development densities. Ventana fits very nicely into the fabric of this area of town. Ventana will maintain the quality and values of the surrounding properties, offering a choice of new housing options within the Desert Estates area, all helping to support the new commercial development just 1/2 mile at the corner of Jefferson and Avenue, actually walking distance from our project. More importantly, Ventana will bring new infrastructure, a new water line from Jefferson Street as part of the proposed improvements, the built out of the frontage on 50th Avenue, all full street section, including the undergrounding of power line poles. Our team is committed and known for building high-quality, state-of-the-art projects and communities. Ventana gives us the opportunity to improve our footprint using the most current sustainable building parts, materials, and measures. Ventana will increase the variety of housing types in this growing area and still maintain the character of the neighborhood. We have reviewed the conditions of approval, the memorandum of conditions of approval, and we approve them. And we ask that this city council concur with staff's recommendation to approve the Ventana development. I'd like to reserve that if any one of my team members would like to answer any specific questions, that we have the opportunity to rebut. And with that said, I'd like to know if there's any questions.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? No, no questions? Yes, absolutely. Okay, I do have a couple of requests to speak. City Clerk, do you have anyone online, or should I do the request to speak first?
I do have public comment.
Yes.
Mr. Matt Morris.
Okay.
Mr. Matt Morris.
Yes, can you hear me?
You have 3 minutes.
Can the council see me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
We can't see him.
Yeah, I want the record to know that you've all been invited to be present, but no one in opposition has been invited to speak there in front of you, which would be a pleasure. I also want to note that I've been given 3 minutes to discuss significant opposition to a multi-million-dollar project that is going to destroy the Country Estates area. I know some of you, some of you know me, you know why I'm here. And the reason is because the Ventana project is a straightforward attempt to destroy the Country Estates. Years ago, the city created and has maintained a really small enclave in the city of Indio for low density residential and ag development. That's why you didn't see any horses or gardens or orchards or anything else in the picture shown to you by Mrs. Namvar. A lot of people have relied on the city's promises and the general plan, which is not even 2 years old, to move to Indio, to buy properties there, some retirement properties, to spend millions of dollars in backyard landscaping. There's houses under construction on 1 acre lots there. There's walls going up around 5 acre properties. I didn't hear Ms. Namvar talk about any of that. All of those people that for decades, some recently, that have relied on the city don't want to get up and look over their fence when they've been promised otherwise and see high density housing, multi-story housing, and hear noise, hear renters, hear traffic, hear all the things that the city promised were not going to go into that area. I don't have much time, so I don't want to spend a lot of time here on it. I'm disappointed that in this format, you cannot see all of the people that I represent and that are lined up against this project, all of the neighbors who have relied on the city. But I can promise you that they are lined up against this project. And the 3 minutes I've been given to speak about this, or the 3 hours that you've been in this council meeting, are going to expand into 3 years of further deliberation about this, because If the planning commission decide, or if the city council plans to follow the planning commission, then all of those people are going to go to an arbitrator that can take a realistic look at what is a significantly high density development in a low density agricultural area.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
There are no other speakers.
Okay, I do have 2 requests to speak. The first, is it Martin or Marty?
Oh, Mario,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mario Gonzalez.
Mario, I thought it was Mario. Well, you're already on, Mr. Gonzalez. Okay, the next person, Brett Albert.
And Brett Albert.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Chief of Police. I believe we call him current Chief of Fire, I believe, is as of tonight. And city staff, my name is Brett Albrecht, President of Kramer Land Company. I don't want to take a lot of time, but I do want to thank you and thank for the staff for the process that we've gone through for the past year. It's been very professional and very productive. The one element that makes me excited with this, without sounding like your typical developer that self-promotes and hypes up a project, is this project is special to me. I was born and raised here in the Coachella Valley. I'm one of your local guys. Councilman Miller, when I heard the story about the Cal State Palm Desert campus, I was that guy that went to school, grew up here locally, and had to move away to go to college. So I'm a stakeholder. This is an important process. We have a company saying locally, and every project that we have and every piece of land that we touch, that we leave it a little better than when we started with. So thank you very much for your consideration. We do appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, before I close the public hearing, just wanted to make sure, is there anyone else wish to speak?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to add also a condition to the resolution 10228, which is the tentative track map resolution. And if I may, I can read that to the record.
Certainly.
The condition will say the applicant shall annex the subdivision into the existing Community Facilities District 2004-1 for public facilities and or public services. The applicant shall cause a covenant to be recorded on all residential lots with the tentative tract map number 37884, advising of the owner's obligation to participate in the community's facility district for said public facilities and or public services. Also, I had an error in my presentation. The general plan density goes from 0 to 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I'm going to close the public hearing. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 10226, clarifying the final environmental impact report prepared for the Ventana project, adopting environmental findings pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act and adopted a mitigated monitoring and reporting program. Number 2, adopt resolution number 10227, adopting general plan amendment 20-05-10 GPA 20-05-120. Number 3, introduce and waive full reading of ordinance number 1763, adopting the Ventana specific plan 20-05-39 SP 20-05-39 and request that the city clerk read ordinance number 1763 by the title only. And number 4, adopt resolution number 10228, a resolution of the city council of the city of Indio, California, approving tentative tract map number 37884 TTM 20-05-479.
Good job.
And I'll second it, but I have a question for staff. I didn't get a chance before Mr. Furman jumped in there. If I could ask either Kevin or Layla. One of the things we did at Trilogy at the Polo Club was make sure that the residents that were buying into those homes knew about the concerts and the activities around there. Is that something that's going to be put into either the CCNRs or when they sign, that they realize that there will be, because they're right off Madison, right off of 50th, that there will be concerts and other events at certain times. So people aren't coming and being surprised when the road's blocked off or they hear the sound and they call and said, nobody ever told me that there was a concert or we're going to have all this, because it does hit people. And we did that at Trilogy to make sure that they knew when they signed it on the dotted line what they were signing into. And I think it's important that we do that if it's not.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Furman and a second by Councilmember Glenn Miller.
Sorry, before you
I'm
go
sorry.
there, if, I mean, certainly I don't see that we can add that if that's acceptable to the applicant. I don't know if he's already including that, but I think Mr. Steiner wanted to say
Let
something.
me just sidebar for 1 second if
Yeah.
I could.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity to sidebar with the applicant. So the applicant has advised that they have no concerns or issues with including both in their sales documents and in the CCNR, so that there is full disclosure and notification as the council member recommended.
It'll save us time in the long run.
So if the maker of the motion will accept that, and as well as the revision to the tentative track map in the addition of that.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
I'll second that. Thank you.
All right, we're back to everything. We have, again, a motion with this additional information and a second by Councilmember Glenn Miller, and I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman.
Aye.
And Mayor Holmes.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. And I beg your pardon? Update from the chief. Hang on 1 second, please. Congratulations. Look forward to a fabulous project in our city. Thank you very, very much. Now, what is the update from the chief about?
It's on the in custody death. That also
Thank you for the reminder. Chief, sir.
That's just Council Member Ortiz wanted me to update folks on the status of the investigation and the in custody death. And at this time, they have delayed for a second time or canceled the coroner's review. So we just we're kind of stalled until that's completed.
Thank you, chief. And city attorney, before we adjourn back into closed session, city attorney has a statement to make.
Sure. I just wanted to make for the record and to clarify with respect to the agreement with CUSP agency. That's an event management agreement and doesn't pertain to any particular property. And therefore, Mayor Holmes did participate in that, and she does not have a conflict of interest. So I wanted to make that clear and clarify that it's an event management agreement and is not specific to any specific property in the downtown.
Thank you very much. And at this point, we are going to adjourn the meeting back into closed session. The next council meeting will be on August 18th. Look forward to seeing everyone then.